Hello, welcome back. How's it going, chat? This is Anonymous Live, episode 19. For those who may just be watching for the very first time, this is a place where we try to get people talking about real human stuff. No policies, no ideas, no philosophy. Occasionally we've gotten into some philosophical stuff if someone is like really struggling with something personal and it's helpful to them as an individual. But this is a place where we don't discriminate, is the point. We want to get into real human stuff. This is a safe place to be real, is what we're calling it. Been going for about 5.5 weeks now. Somehow people are still finding out about this. I would say that is some algorithmic magic happening there, that people are still discovering this. But we're just happy that people are responding in the way that they are. It's been a beautiful response. We got about an average of 100-ish people coming into the new Discord server every week, which is great, because this is not entertaining, what you're about to see. This is not entertainment, I guess I should say. It is just super real, sometimes slow, but we're trying to talk about we're trying to get people on the phone to share very real stories, things that they might not feel safe sharing anywhere else. We protect them through the promise of anonymity. So people call in. If they reveal any personal information, they get toasted, and we stay on the phone with people as long as we can under that singular rule. So there is not too much to announce this morning, or this evening. It's about to be morning. My sleep schedule has been totally derailed by this format, so I'm like night and day means nothing to me anymore after doing this series. Like, if it's dark, maybe it's morning. If it's broad daylight, summer just started here where I am. Or rather, the days started getting longer here, so it's like 8 o'clock at night. It's broad daylight. I'm so messed up right now as far as my circadian rhythms. But it's been beautiful. This is by far my favorite project I have going. We have a 1-800 number that is toll-free internationally to over 100 countries here, and we just take people from pretty much anywhere. The only limitation here, the only real limitation, is that I only speak English, pretty much. I speak some broken Spanish. I can get my way around some German, but I am literally... English is my only language. So if you can speak English, no matter where you are, we can have a conversation as long as you want. And depending on what this turns into, who knows? Maybe I'll learn some languages, depending on where we're getting our most callers from. So yeah, with that, we're going to have a really short introduction today. Nothing, like I said, nothing really significant to announce. Phone lines are opening now, so get your phones ready, and we will just be taking callers here for the next 3 hours till midnight Central Time. And I will say that this is a worthwhile mention here, that the phone line system has been really it's been completely revamped in the last couple days. So for those of you who are used to calling in before, where it just like rang when you called the number and then I might answer, it's a little bit different now. So it might take callers a little longer to get through. If you're new to calling, when you call in, press 1 for some instructions on what to expect, and the new phone system will give you some instructions on what's going to go down and how it's going to work and all that good stuff. So with that, we are going to prepare to take callers. I'm checking the chat here briefly. And with that, we've got calls coming in. Let's go ahead and take our first caller. Here we go. Hi, thanks for calling.
Hey, Julian.
Hi. What do you want to talk about?
Oh, okay. So I have these friends right now, and I just don't think they're good for me.
Okay. What do you think is the problem?
Well, like, whenever I'm around them, like, I have them over at my house sometimes and all that, but they just, like, really ignore me. They never really want to, like, talk to me or anything. It kind of sucks.
So you have friends over and they don't treat you the way you're expecting to be treated?
Yeah.
How old are you?
17.
17. And you've got some dismissive friends. Would dismissive be a good word?
Yeah.
Well, at that age, I'm not sure how old your friends are. You haven't specified. But I'm
My age.
I'm assuming they're your age. Yeah, that makes sense. Kids that age they can be fickle friends. People, before they're responsible for their own lives, before they are adults, there's a lot of stuff that people are still learning. I wonder if there's some weird. We talk a lot on this show about attachment styles. A lot of people call in feeling like they're attracted to bad or negative romantic relationships. I wonder if maybe you are attracted to something in your friends, not romantically, platonically. I wonder if there's some kind of platonic attraction going on with you and your friends, which makes me wonder about your family life. How's your relationship with your family? You have a good relationship with your parents, brothers, sisters? Tell me about that.
Well, yeah, my relationship with my family is great. I guess I was really calling if you just had any quick advice you could give for, like, finding new friends, because I've kind of decided that I don't want those dismissive friends. And no, I'm not, as you put it, attracted to anything bad that they do. I just wanted, like, some advice about how I should go about finding new friends.
Do you have any positive friendships?
Yeah, I have a friend.
No names, no
Nate.
names.
I don't really. No. My friend Nate. I don't see him super often, but, like, he's nice.
You have one nice friend. What would you say is the difference between your positive friendship and the negative ones?
I mentioned my negative friends. They don't really like talk to me or anything, and Nate does talk to me. So I guess I should probably start trying to be hanging around Nate more.
Yeah, I think what you're going through is a really. It doesn't sound like you're going through something developmental, but it sounds like you're experiencing something that is developmental on the part of your friends. You mentioned that your friends are not really sensitive to you, like they're in your house and they're not talking to you. I'm not sure how deep that actually goes. We've only been talking for a couple of minutes here, so I'm just going off what I understand already, but I would say questions that are coming to my head are, where did you meet this friend of yours that is actually a good influence? I'm having a little trouble hearing you. I apologize. So maybe I'm missing things. I don't know if it's possible to get a little closer to your mic, but I am wondering about this positive friendship and where you met them, if you met them at school or somewhere else, if maybe there's a common thread between the negative influences, or if I'm not sure if I'm making sense here or not, but I'm wondering about where you met the friend that's a good friend and where you met the friends that are negative friends, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get it. So, my negative friends right now, I kind of know them because they live near me and I go to school with them, and I happen to see them a lot, so that's kind of why we became friends in the first place. My friend Nate, who was the good friend that I mentioned,
I'm sorry. Are you
he's
saying a name? Are you saying names? No names here.
Oh, sorry. Well, that's not his actual name.
You're using. I heard you say Nate. You're saying that's some kind of cover.
That's not his actual name.
Okay. All right. Great. I'm just making sure.
We'll just call him that.
We're calling him Nate. So carry on. Sorry, I just making sure.
Yeah. So I met him last year. We did cross country together, but we don't do that anymore. And so if you could just give like a way that I could probably start hanging out with Nate, but like I don't want to be mean to my old friends and like ditch them, but like I do want to start hanging out with them less. Like, is there any way I can do that? I can start hanging out with them less and more with Nate and do that in like a nice way.
I see the question. Yeah. So, well, first of all, it sounds like Nate, as we're calling them, is someone you met through an extracurricular activity at school. Is that right? Like, I think you said it was track.
Yeah.
Well, that seems like to me, that seems like it makes perfect sense. Like you met somebody through a common interest. Like you and this Nate character were both running track, and that was something that it seems like your friendship had some basis for. So you were automatically, you and Nate seemed like you skipped a lot of exposition in your relationship because you had the common interest. You shared a common interest. You were both interested in running track, and it sounds like these other friends that are not so good in your life were just kind of convenient relationships, if I'm understanding correctly. It sounds like they were just kind of around, and maybe they were convenient because they were just around. And that seems like that seems super understandable. Like sometimes the most accessible friends aren't the best. And sometimes, some kind of filter is helpful for bypassing a lot of, like I said earlier, exposition in a relationship. Like this is why people go to church and things like that, and volunteer and things like this, because it's a filter. First of all, it's a positive thing you can do with your time, but also it's a social filter. So the people you meet in these places, these kinds of places, kind of serve as a filter. So you can automatically skip a bunch of conversation. You guys know that you share some kind of common ideal or some kind of common interest. And so it makes perfect sense to me that you and Nate, that Nate's been a positive influence in your life, and these other people that maybe aren't the best influences on you were kind of around, and you stumbled into a relationship with them. I'm picking up what you're putting down. As far as letting your other friends go, I would say, it doesn't need to be, doesn't seem like, unless something's happened that was like traumatic or something. I mean, I think it's pretty healthy to just kind of gradually spend less time with people like that. You may not need to have any real conversation with those people. I'm trying to be really careful because this is not, we don't give relationship advice here. I don't want to tell you what to do. This is a place where people are calling in and sharing experiences, and your experience seems relatable. So I'm trying to be helpful, but I don't want to tell you what to do. I would say that if you are feeling undervalued in those relationships, that those can just be relationships that you can just deprioritize, and no conversation. It's not like you need to go have some hurtful. No conversation would be necessary, in my opinion. You could just put more, instead of spending time talking with these people that things aren't working with, you could just invest more time into the kinds of activities that led you to your friend Nate. Maybe don't sweat the relationships that aren't working. In this case, it doesn't sound like anything traumatic has happened. So my suggestion would be that you just focus on spending more time in places where you will meet those high quality relations. So places like track, or that's the only thing you've mentioned so far that's a hobby of yours. So I don't know what else you're into, but does that make sense?
Yeah, I'll definitely consider doing that.
Great. Well,
all right.
Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Take care. Good night.
Bye.
Okay, guys, phone lines are opening back up again. Having some issue getting these lines back open. Bear with me. Here we go. Okay, lines are open. All right, next caller. Here we go. Hi, thanks for calling.
Here we go.
Hello?
Hi. What do you want to talk about?
All right, next caller. Here.
Oh my gosh. Oh man, I got a lot. But I'll start with something that I've been meaning to talk about for a while. So I am a very recent college graduate. I
Congratulations.
graduated actually last year from college with a graphic design degree, and it's kind of like opened my eyes of like how kind of hard post-grad life is right now. A lot of it, because right now I have a retail job right now, and it's just been very hard for me because I've been trying so hard to like put my name out there and get everything that I could, and it breaks my heart and it makes me very stressed out because I feel like I'm going in a loop of applying to things and then following up, and I feel like I'm doing everything right, but I just feel so like sorry, I'm kind of nervous.
Oh, it's okay. No need to be nervous. Take your time.
I just been feeling very lost and very trapped in my own mind too, just because like I'm also autistic too, so a lot of things that have been holding me down, I feel like it's also because I am autistic, and a lot of change for me right now has been stressing me out a lot. Like I'm still living with my parents right now, which I know is not a big deal, but like I feel like I'm lost where I am right now at the age that I am, and it's kind of taken a toll on me.
I see. Sounds like you're dealing with some anxiety. Sounds like maybe you have some kind of lack of direction. You mentioned that you have graduated and you've got this kind of post-graduation dread of which that part to me sounds very relatable, that graduating college, to be very clear, I've never graduated college. I've never even stepped foot into a college class. So to be very clear, I only understand that feeling from the perspective of a 20-something that is trying to build their life, and that there is no rule book for how to best go about that. So I think that what you're talking about is really relatable with or without a college degree. I would imagine that with a college degree, it's even more frustrating because a college degree is kind of sold as this golden ticket that is going to carry you through the rest of your life. And so I would imagine that for you, that sense of dread is a lot deeper than for people who have not graduated college with a degree in something.
Yeah, it's also been kind of hard too because I constantly keep comparing myself to my peers. Like, I have a huge jealousy issue. Like, I see other people like getting jobs straight out of graduation on LinkedIn, and I feel so happy for them, and it makes me think, like, what didn't I do to get to that step, even though for me, I feel like I'm taking all the right steps into that direction.
Right. Well, comparison is the thief of joy, which is a quote I love to remember. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that quote, but I find it to be so true. Comparison is the thief of joy. We cannot ever know why certain people are put into the positions that they are. It's not always what we would call fair. It's not always cut and dry. Sometimes people get put into certain positions because of people they know, nepotism. I'm just naming things that are, to be very clear, I'm just naming things that come to mind as exceptions from the norm of experience. Like, people do often get unfair treatment. I do think that we're in a time now where, we're in the middle of a movement where the world is becoming much more democratic in terms of opportunity, equal opportunity. And it is, if you're asking me, my opinion would be that, things like this are not always going to be, even in the best case scenario, things aren't always going to be cut and dry. Things aren't always going to be what we would call fair. Sometimes people will get opportunities that would maybe be more equitable for someone else. And that's, again, not something we would generally call fair. But
right.
The best thing that we can do is to apply ourselves in ways that can help people solve their problems. That's why people make money. Anytime money is exchanged, it's because a problem has been solved. And part of what your adventure is going to look like as a 20-something fresh out of college is to figure out how to use your degree, and not only your degree, but your circle of influence and your relationships, how to leverage all of that together in a way that will solve the problems you're interested in solving. So what I'm trying to say in a maybe with too many words is that these people that you're talking about on LinkedIn, we don't always know why. This is kind of what I started with. We can't know why people will rise and fall on social media platforms. It's behind this curtain that we can't see.
Right.
Maybe some of these people that you're talking about that are becoming rising stars on LinkedIn are just really good at schmoozing. And, schmoozing is a small, in my opinion, it's a small element of problem solving. People who are good at schmoozing. Because what is schmoozing? Schmoozing is, I'm not sure if any of this is going to be helpful, but I'm just trying to help you feel better about the situation.
Right.
Schmoozing, what schmoozing does, if you're at a party or even on LinkedIn, even in LinkedIn messages, schmoozing is a way where people can signal to others that they are competent, that they are able to handle problems. And, you know, I'm equating LinkedIn to a party here because that's essentially what LinkedIn is. LinkedIn is kind of like a party. It's kind of like a bunch of people talking about what kind of problems they want to solve in exchange for money. That would be the most rudimentary way I would explain LinkedIn. But schmoozing my point here is that schmoozing is kind of the first step of problem solving professionally, because business is relational. Nobody's going to pay you anything, whether you're good at what you do or not, unless they know you somehow, and that they trust being the key word. They trust that you're able to help them solve their problems. So somebody could be really good at schmoozing and not really good at actually solving the problems. They may be like a 5-star schmoozer and a 1-star problem solver. And these people often do find themselves in places that they maybe deserve less than other people. I'm not sure if what I'm saying is landing at all with you.
No, I totally understand what you're where you're coming from with all of it.
Okay. I'm as an initial step, I'm just trying to help you feel better about, because I mean, what you're saying is really relatable. Like, people do. I mean, it's everywhere. It's not just. I mean, how many nights out of the week do people sit in front of their TV and say, "Wow, this person is a horrible actor. Why were they paid millions of dollars for this role?" You know, like this is exactly what I'm talking about on a much grander scale. We're talking about people that are excellent schmoozers that don't actually have what it takes more so than any other person, but they're an excellent schmoozer. There's a lot of S's and SH's in there. Excellent schmoozer. And you know, it's true. Like, people are gonna, the market isn't always completely fair. This is why free markets are controversial. There's so many people want to just regulate free markets because of this very thing. This can get super political very quickly. But in your case, I sense it's not political. I guess I'm just trying to.
No, it's
a deep problem, is what I'm acknowledging.
Like, kind of like, it's just me kind of like stuck on where I am right now, because I'm trying to get like full-time work, but like at the same time, for me, especially with like my autism, I don't want to burn myself out so quickly and be overstimulated, and depending on the full-time job that I do get.
Right.
Like, it stresses, like, that change really stresses me out. Like, yes, there are all these benefits and stuff for me to survive, but I don't know if, like, I really look at my mental health first before anything else.
Right. So, just to be very clear, I'm aware that we have not gotten to the heart of your problem, but I wanted to spend some time. You kind of struck a chord with me, and I wanted to take some time to talk about. Like, I feel like there's two hearts to what you're talking about. You know, on one hand, it's that markets aren't totally fair, and yes, in an objective sense, outside of all the feelings that you're experiencing, in a cold, objective sense, markets are not always going to be fair, and people will be put in positions that are not fair or free. Well, you could call it free. You could call it free, but not fair, because it's free. The reason. The proof that it's free is that these people are able to get themselves in positions where somebody else would probably be better qualified for, you know. But that's why it's not always fair, and you know, it's not a crime. It's not to say these people should be like locked up or something, you know. But you know, I guess I'm just trying to spend the first part of this explaining in my mind why or how I think of these things, since you're calling in here, about why it's not worth getting anxious about these things, because nothing in markets are totally fair, even in a free market. I would say even in really restrained markets, things aren't fair. You know, they're maybe fair is a really hard thing to find. You know, is I guess my point. I know that, again,
Right.
that's just, I just want to take a second to spitball that with you because I think that is the first pillar worth breaking down in your case. Because we can get emotional about things like markets. We can get, especially when we're trying to sell our services and we're not being recognized for our qualifications. That can be really, I hear it in your voice. Like it's really discouraging for you. I'm sure that you're being on the autism spectrum doesn't make that easier because you're probably you're very well spoken. You sound like a very analytical person. You sound very capable. It sounds like you've done the work that was. It sounds like you did the fair work, to use that fair word again. Like you did what was fair in pursuit of a job market, and now you're not being fairly recognized for the work you've done. And I hear that. That's a tough experience.
Yeah, I really appreciate you saying that, especially like for someone on the spectrum. It means a lot to me.
Well, you know, I have read that book, Thinking in Pictures by Temple Grandin. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that book. I have wondered if
No, I am not.
Oh, that might be an interesting read for you. Maybe it would help you in your job search.
Oh, what is it called again?
Thinking in Pictures by Temple Grandin. Let me put that in the chat for you. I'll put the Goodreads link. Hang on one second.
Okay.
With you being on the spectrum, it might be a great book to read. I'm not even sure I'm on the spectrum, and I loved this book. Amazing book. Temple Grandin. I'm sure it sounds like you're taking notes, but I'm going to put this Goodreads link in the chat for everybody.
Oh, that's perfect.
Amazing book. It basically breaks down how different people, it breaks down all the different thinking styles. Are you familiar with the work of Temple Grandin?
I am not.
Okay, so she's on the autism spectrum. She has 2 PhDs, I believe, maybe 3. I can't remember her entire biography.
Wow.
She's an engineer. She's on Time magazine's list of top 100 most influential people of all time. There's an HBO movie about her life starring Claire Danes that's unbelievable. You might like that movie too. It's just called Temple Grandin. It's on HBO. Her work is unbelievable. I won't elaborate any more than that, but highly recommend you read Thinking in Pictures. Okay. It's in the chat for you now. It's tough because part of what you're calling in for is, I sense, maybe some career advice, and I try really hard not to give explicit career advice here,
right?
Because I don't want to mess up anybody's life on a short phone call. But right. That's why I've spent some time with you here, kind of explaining my take on the unfairness of markets, because I totally get that feeling. It doesn't matter if you're a graphic designer or a psychologist or an anthropologist, or even if you have a college degree or not, markets are not entirely fair. And that's why I spent so much time talking about schmoozing, because there's so much, right. There's so many great schmoozers, and a lot of these people, I wouldn't even wager a guess on the percentage, but a lot of these people that are great schmoozers are not excellent problem solvers. They're not the best problem solvers. And a lot of the best problem solvers are not great schmoozers, is kind of my point. And so there's this weird tension. And if you're on the autism spectrum, I would imagine that challenge might even be a little more difficult for you, because, it can be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because
right.
When I try to explain like my struggles with like finding a job to my parents, and like how like a little bit of my autism is affected to it, they essentially believe like, oh, you don't have it anymore because you're an adult now and you're obviously acting neurotypical, so
right.
you obviously don't have autism anymore. So it's like, no, that's not how that works.
Well, these are the kinds of people that don't understand that there are 64 steps on the autism spectrum, from nonverbal at the high end to like almost virtually undetectable on the low end. The autism spectrum disorder is really misunderstood. especially now since we have discontinued the term Asperger's, which we used to use for, which I agree was a good change.
That's actually, I diagnosed with Asperger's at first, and then ever since that happened, I'm like, nope,
right.
I'm not going to use that ever again.
Right. I guess I have feelings for and both for and against. Not that I wish anything would be different. I mean, it is all autism. I think that's fair. I'm not arguing with psychologists that are much smarter than me, obviously, but it does make it more difficult. Like for somebody that would have been called Asperger's 10 years ago, the fact that they're all just called autistic now is not helpful for these people's individual cases with their family and stuff. I mean, these people have family that they've known in some cases. Like some of these people that are just discovering they're autistic according to the new DSM-5 criteria. Some of these people are like in their 80s and they have kids and grandkids and great grandkids. And like, what are all these people just like supposed to like, I'm not saying that nobody will believe them. I'm sure many people do believe people in these situations. But my point is that like, this is I'm empathizing with you is my point, that it's a very, it's a very difficult thing. And schmoozing is also a really difficult thing. And, again, like I'm really hesitant to weigh in on career advice on a short phone call here. Graphic design is also not a traditional. There's not a tradition. Talk about a career with no rule book. That's a.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always found myself as a creative, and I wanted to do something different than like business or whatever.
Right.
I always loved the arts.
I would say, again, like. This isn't advice, but, I would say just generally that there are so many avenues for graphic design now. I mean, I know there's websites like Fiverr and Upwork where you can hire freelancers all over the world. And if your rates are competitive enough, you'll get attention. There's so many ways outside of a 9-to-5 job with a specific brand as a graphic designer for people like you today and in 2022, that I mean, you've clearly got the qualifications, you've got the degree. I haven't seen your work, but I understand you to be an intelligent person. You're very well spoken, and it sounds like you've done all the work. So to my ear, like there has to be some outlet for you, and my guess would be that you are still searching for that. And so my encouragement to you would be to just not lose heart and keep applying yourself and keep seeing what you do as, it sounds like you see yourself as a creative person. I would encourage you to see yourself as a problem solver that solves problems with creative solutions, even if it's just pictures. That's a solution, you take words and you turn them into pictures, and that's a solution to a problem that somebody has.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for this whole thing. I'm sure it's been very helpful. It's been very, very helpful for me, and just to let it off from my chest, because I've been kind of dealing with this for a very long time. It's been almost a year since I graduated now. I think actually exactly a year today.
Wow. Yeah, I can understand the frustration. I, again, just encourage you to keep fighting the good fight. Get creative. You mentioned you're creative. Get creative with how you can put yourself out there. Understand that maybe schmoozing is not your strong suit, and that there's going to be hundreds, maybe thousands of graphic designers out there that are worse than you, that will be better schmoozers. And try and maybe spend some time figuring out how you can get your solutions in front of people who have problems that you want to solve without schmoozing. That would be my general recommendation.
All right. I will definitely get those into consideration. I'm definitely going to be looking at those books too, because they sound really interesting.
That's a great book. You're going to love it, with or without the career stuff. It's just an amazing book. Temple Grandin's amazing. Check out her documentary, or it's not a documentary, it's a feature film. It's just called Temple Grandin on HBO. It's about her life. Unbelievable movie. Check it out.
All right, I will.
Thanks
you
for
so
calling
much,
tonight.
Julian. I hope you have a good night.
Take care of yourself. Good night. All right, phone lines are opening again. Taking our next caller. Hi, thanks for calling.
Hello?
Hi, what you want to talk about?
Who is this?
This is Julian. You're on Anonymous Live.
So I was just wondering, cause like I don't know what I was supposed to talk about or anything, but like, wait, what is the thing you're supposed to prepare to talk about?
Toast. I toasted you, my friend. That's a toast sound. That's the sound of a toaster you just heard. Please, guys, if you're calling in, keep in mind that we are trying to respect callers calling in with very serious things that they can't talk with other people about. This is a place for people to discuss things that have been weighing on their minds for a long time, or confess something, or, discuss some kind of trauma. We have people calling in here suicidal. We have people calling in sharing things that they feel they can't share in therapy. If you call in if this is your first time calling, it's very simple. You call the phone number, press 1 at the menu to just get some general information about what to expect on the calls. Please don't call in and ask us to explain on the air what this is about. We've got lots of text for you to read on the screens, and we got lots of people calling in. And with that, we're taking our next caller. Here we go. Hi, thanks for calling. Hello? Toast. Okay. Toast count 2. That person didn't seem like they had a good, solid connection. Hi, thanks for calling.
Hi,
Hello?
Hi, Julian. My name's, sorry, I can't mention my name. Sorry
Ooh,
about that.
that was a close one. Ooh.
So, for a couple of years, I have been dealing with quite a few issues, mostly like attachment disorder and stuff like that. As far as my story, it kind of all started back when I was in high school, and I was dating this girl, and she passed away when I was 16. And we were together for about 6 or 7 months. And really ever since then, I've kind of dealt with extreme attachment issues. And it's bled over into like my relationship with my family and relationship with friends, and not just romantic relationships. And I was just kind of curious as to what your take or what the chat's take is on this, because I don't really have a whole lot of people to talk to about it.
So, sounds like you were, if I understand correctly, you were negatively attracted to or attached to this person, and then they died. Is that right?
No. So it was actually a very healthy relationship for me. I would honestly argue it's probably the best relationship that I've ever had.
I see.
To this day. I mean, I'm 22 now. This was when I was like 16.
I see. So when you say attached,
so it was a very positive relationship for me.
So when you say attached, do you mean that you've had a hard time letting go of this person?
Yeah,
I see.
I would say that that's the best way to describe it.
I thought you were talking about attachment theory, different attachment styles and whatnot. I understand what you're saying now. Gosh, I'm so sorry to hear about that. So you're 22. You lost this person. That would have been, assuming.
It was actually 7 years ago, like 2, maybe a month ago.
Okay.
It was like in March. Yeah, so it's been quite a while.
Have you dated anybody since they died?
I'm actually currently with someone right now, and they've been very supportive of everything, like they know about it. And then I also recently just started therapy, but I may end up switching therapists because they aren't extremely helpful. It's kind of hard to find a good therapist this day and age.
It is.
So
I'm really sorry for your loss. Do you feel Well, it sounds like you don't feel the same connection with this current partner that you did with the old one.
My understanding has always been that, kind of like with the general thought of like having like the absolute best relationship, that whenever something traumatic happens in that sense to someone that you extremely care about, and in my case I loved to death, it's kind of hard for anyone else to kind of come close to that level of happiness. I'm completely and totally happy in my current relationship, but I don't think it's fair to put that weight on a relationship that will never live up to actually being what that other relationship is like. I just don't think it's possible.
What would you say is missing in your current relationship?
Probably the communication. I know that's something that a lot of people struggle with nowadays, like especially myself. Like we're still working on communication issues and things like that, but that's definitely the one thing that's missing, because in my relationship with my girlfriend that passed away, we were always communicating. I mean, like not like nonstop, but like it was very healthy communication. Like if I did something she didn't like, she would tell me, or if she did something that I didn't like, I would tell her, and it was very, like, we were very communicative about things that we liked and didn't like, and we understood each other. And one of the things that I always appreciated about that relationship was we never got mad at each other. And like in my current relationship, we don't get mad at each other now, but it's just the communication is not there like how I would want it to be, if that makes any sense.
I see. Well, my first comment would be on the, you mentioned that it seems like you have a high priority for not getting mad at each other in a relationship. It seems like maybe you think that a lack of anger is the sign of a positive relationship. Is that a belief you hold?
I don't really know if that's what I mean. Like I just kind of mean like being, like I don't even think like in my current relationship we're mad at each other. It's just like we have a hard time communicating issues, not even just about our relationship or what's going on in that point in time. It's just opening up in general.
Right.
Is really what I mean by communicating, and like talking about how someone feels. That's not something that my relationship at the moment has, but that relationship that I lost did.
I see. Well, I'll start by saying that that I'll tell you the same thing I tell everybody that calls in with relational stuff. I can't give you career or relationship advice. I care too much about your life. I don't want to mess it up on a short phone call.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to spitball with you. I do sense a number of things we could discuss here that would not, things that would be safe to discuss without any risk, which I'm happy to spend some time unpacking as long as you want. First,
yeah, for sure.
First, I want to start by highlighting something from the chat. Rydell S. From the chat says to you, it's the kind of thing with first true love as well. It's not easy to forget about it, especially when it ended like it did. It sounds like that's a continuation of a thought from earlier that they might have had, which I can't find now. But what I hear them saying is that, it's kind of like that song lyric, the first cut is the deepest. Your first love is something that it serves as a barometer of success for future relationships for us. And that barometer is not always helpful because our first love is something really raw. And there is and it's also first loves, I would say, are in my own experience and the experience of others I've known, your first love is often a really messy relationship because it's your first love, like you're learning how to love, it sounds like you're going to say something. I'll let you have the floor.
Yeah, sorry. Before I had went out with this girl that passed away, I was probably a sophomore. I think it was like 2015, and I had already been in like relationships before then, none of them as serious as that one. And I mean, like, it didn't help that it was a long distance relationship, um but it was healthy, and like we didn't have to be around each other all the time. Like we talked to each other all, like, basically throughout the day whenever we could, like whenever we weren't in school. And it's just, even before that relationship, I had known what a bad relationship was. Like, if that makes any sense. Like, all of my experiences before that were just really bad. And then when I met her, that kind of, did a complete 180. And then at that point, um that was what I considered my ideal relationship, the one that was like how I would want all of my future relationships to be. So I completely agree with what he said in the chat. That's kind of how I've always thought about it.
And also, I don't know if this applies to your case, but often, it's a really normal thing for our teenage relationships to be much simpler than relationships as we move into adulthood and get further into adulthood. In fact, most 30-somethings report, according to studies, that it gets harder and harder and harder the further you go into your 30s and beyond to just establish new friendships. Even, we're talking just friendships, not even a romantic relationship. So my point is that it's possible, at least, or I guess I would ask you, is it possible that what you're idealizing from your relationship when you were 16, is it possible that that relationship was simple in a way that your relationships moving forward are not going to be? And that maybe that's just part of learning about new people and how to relate in new ways, more sophisticated ways, as you grow in sophistication and you learn in your personal life. Is it possible that what you're experiencing is just the result of you growing and learning, and relationships becoming more complicated because of that?
I mean, I would definitely say that could play a huge role into why I think about it the way that I do, or like the way that I handle it. Like, as far as simple, I wouldn't like, I mean, like, obviously no long distance relationship is easy, but as far as like simple, like, we didn't really have anything going on in our lives. Like, we didn't have to worry about paying bills. We didn't have to worry about paying tuition. We didn't have to worry about paying car insurance or health insurance or what have you. We didn't, like, when you're a teenager, you don't have those worries.
Right.
Unless you're like one of, like, some of those kids who don't necessarily have everything, and then they have to help out. But that's besides the point. Like, you don't have those worries at that age. And I would say yes, that does make relationships back then for me a little bit easier.
What are some good things about your relationship? Why are you with this person now? Did it come from a place of being lonely, or was there some value that you sensed in it? And if so, what is that value?
I mean, I definitely sensed some value. After my girlfriend back then passed away, I was single for probably a good year and a half, which I now know it was not an ample time for me to really, like, mourn that and accept that I made a dumb decision and rushed into another relationship. And then after that relationship ended, like, shortly after I graduated high school, which was 4 years ago at this point. Or, well, no, I graduated high school like 6 or 7 years ago. No, God, I'm getting my times mixed up. I was in college 4 years before now, so I've already been out of high school for a while. So that relationship ended shortly into college, and I've been single for like 4 years since then until like a month and a half ago. So this relationship that I'm in now is still very fresh. We're still learning about each other and all of that. Um, so yeah, that's
Do you know what you are? I'll ask it this way: or do you know what sets you apart from other people, and what that means you're looking for in a partner?
you mean like as far as like what makes me me, or
Right? Do you feel like you understand? Do you feel like you're 22? So I think that's a fair question. Um, you're gonna be if your life is anything like mine, you'll be learning about yourself all the way up until, I mean, I'm still learning about myself and I'm 35. So, um, you know, I think it's a fair question, but I'm asking, do you feel like you understand what you're looking for in a relationship, um, uh, pragmatically? Do you feel like you understand what kinds of situations are going to be healthy situations for you, and what relational situations are going to be unhealthy for you? I'm wondering if you've read books on relationships, or if you not that you have to read a book to understand yourself, but because some people have some intuitive sense of what they're looking for, they can be pretty accurate. But yeah, I don't know you, so I'm just asking a lot of questions.
yeah, I definitely have a good sense of what I want, mainly given with how my last relationship went before I had this one. Because I went from what was then a really healthy relationship, and then right after that, right into an extremely unhealthy, toxic, and abusive relationship. And during that really toxic relationship, there were good times, but there were also really, really bad times. And after me and that relationship ended, like I spent a very good deal of time, 4 years, trying to figure out what things I thought were healthy and what things were unhealthy, and try and look for those different things. So I definitely had a long time to think about what I wanted in a relationship. So I would say, yeah, I do.
Well, I don't know you, and I haven't been talking to you for very long, but I am wondering now at this point if the way in which you lost your girlfriend when you were 16 traumatized you, and um, maybe you are comparing these more recent partners to her in a way that in which you might be trying to vindicate her. Like, it seems really unfair and sudden the way that she died. And so I'm wondering if maybe you feel some need to vindicate her, or in new relationships, or compare new relationships to her as a way to vindicate her. Um, does that make any sense?
Yeah, I mean, like for like a few people that I was seeing, like within the last year, like I've been dating, like going out on dates and talking to people, but not ever actually like putting a label on it. And after spending all of that time, like really thinking about what I want, um, I kind of knew that I had to stop like comparing each new person that I meet, or like a potential romantic partner, to my girlfriend that passed away. But there are times where if I was talking to someone and they were treating me a certain way, like I would just sit there and think to myself, like, this is not what she would have done to me. She would have been very different and very caring about what's going on, or what have you. Like, this person wouldn't treat me this way. And that's something I think about a lot. And then, like I kind of have like these existential moments where like I feel like the person I'm supposed to be with, it is is dead, and I can't see them anymore. I can't talk to them anymore. I can't do any of that. And that comes into my head quite frequently when something negative happens.
Makes me wonder if there are things that your current partner, ways that your current partner is there for you or relates to you that are better than before.
Yeah, she's been very supportive and helpful, which honestly, like with someone who deals with mental illness, like me and her both have our fair share, but she's been very patient with me about my issues, and same for me towards her. And that's, to me, like I've just kind of like set that standard where like that's the bare minimum for me, where all this person has to do is care about me and show that they understand and actually see me. And then at that point, that's when I guess my happiest, is when this person actually cares and listens.
Right. Well, again, I want to be very clear that losing someone is really complicated, and especially if it's somebody that you're really, really close to, a partner. And so I'm not going to pretend on a 20-minute phone call with you that I know exactly what you're going through. I'm just trying to ask helpful questions, what seem like helpful questions to me, to help you get to the bottom of what it is you're feeling. Because I don't know what it is you're feeling, but I'm trying to prod around in hopes that we'll land somewhere where you feel like you've got some positive food for thought. All of this is coming from a place in me that believes that no two people are exactly alike. And, like I said to the last caller, life is not totally fair. In fact, it's far from fair. I think that losing someone is really difficult. You were with this person, you loved them. It sounded like they were your ideal mate, and nobody expects to lose someone like that. So I understand why that would make you reel a bit. You're reeling from that. And I guess I'm just exploring the possibility with you that maybe you won't ever find someone like that again. And maybe that's why I led with the question, is it possible that that relationship just seemed so perfect to you because it was so simple, because you were 16? Maybe it's for your best that you don't find someone like that, just like that all over again. You're growing into an adult.
Yeah, I definitely think that probably one of the things that was most detrimental to me during that period of time was the mourning process, because I didn't really get quite the average mourning process. Someone dies, you go to a funeral, and you're there with like friends and family. I didn't get that.
Right.
I was not allowed to attend her funeral. My parents told me that sorry, like basically, sorry kiddo, best we can do is send flowers, and then that's it.
What, they wouldn't drive you there, or you wouldn't be allowed to go even if you had a ride?
No, I guess like the whole story like mainly boils down to is like I told my mom, and this was like in a very weird part of my life where like I was dealing with like self-harm and very sadly drug abuse at the time. But my mom, like when I first told my mom, my mom thought I was lying, like I was just doing this for attention or something. And then like I actually had to show her my girlfriend's mom's texts to prove that it was real, and my mom was like profusely apologizing and saying that she was going to take me to the funeral. And then she called my dad and she said, hey, like we're leaving town tonight, we're packing, my son has to go to his girlfriend's funeral. And my dad wasn't all too happy about that. He just told me that I couldn't go because I didn't really know the girl that well, and that was it. And they told me that I can send flowers, and then that was basically what I had to deal with.
I see.
So yeah, like
sorry to hear that.
The mourning period was not easy for me.
You got no closure on that relationship.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I mean, we all need closure on things, and I know what it's like to go through the loss of many different kinds of relationships without closure. It makes me wonder if you maybe are comparing new relationships to that relationship because it was so messy. I mean, you just gave me a bunch of new information there. You said that you didn't get closure on it because you weren't allowed to go to the funeral, and you weren't allowed to go to the funeral because your parents, it sounded like there were some trust issues. You mentioned that you were self-harming and you were abusing drugs, and so you didn't feel like your parents fully trusted you, that this was coming from a sincere place in your heart. And so I imagine that your feelings, it makes perfect sense to me now why these feelings are so messy for you, because I imagine that there would have to be some sense of shame tied up in that like your actions, I'm asking a question here. I'm making statements, but I'm asking a question. Is it that, could it be for you that you were so traumatized over this because you felt like it was your actions that led to you not being able to get closure in the relationship? Like, in other words, if you hadn't been abusing drugs or self-harming, maybe you would have been able to go to the funeral and get that closure you wanted. And maybe your feelings are so messy because you didn't get that closure. Is that possible, that this is weighing on you for those reasons?
I mean, my parents only knew at the time that I was self-harming. They didn't know that I was abusing drugs, but my parents aren't stupid. They probably could have seen it that I was having some kind of substance abuse issue.
But they knew about the self-harm.
I'm sorry?
But they knew about the self-harm?
Yes, they did. And so I would say, yeah, that probably played a huge role, and that I do feel guilty for that, and that it was my own actions that caused it.
Now, to be clear, I'm not trying to shame you or make you feel guilty. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to explore with you. Is it something else? Like, could these feelings be exacerbated because of the fact that you didn't get closure, due to the fact that for whatever specific reason your parents didn't let you go to the funeral? Funerals are funerals for a reason. People want closure. Everybody goes to funerals for the same reason. They want to say goodbye. They want closure. Whether you're married to that person or in love with that person or secretly sleeping with that person or, just a relative or a good friend. People go to funerals all for the same reason. And you did not get that closure. And I would imagine if I were in the same situation that I would be at least dealing with some feelings of like, man, if I hadn't done X, Y, Z, I might have been able to have gotten closure on that. And, not getting closure on the death of someone you love, that's serious. I'm really, my heart breaks hearing that. That's really sad. I'm really sorry.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I don't really have anyone to talk to about it.
Do you have closure with your family on the stuff that you were going through as a teenager? Have you come to some sense of closure with your parents regarding the self-harm and drug abuse today?
Yeah, I would say so. I've been clean from drugs for a good 6 years now. I quit shortly after she passed away. And as far as the self-harm, that's been dealt with, but even now, because of that whole ordeal with my parents and the funeral, our relationship has always been kind of strained since then. And not to mention, my parents aren't the most supportive when it comes to like taking medication for my depression or going to therapy. They haven't always been completely supportive of me, so our relationship is kind of strained on that front. But as far as like accepting like the self-harm and the drug abuse and all that kind of stuff, yeah, we've kind of squashed that bug
Good.
already.
Well, I would say then, if your feelings towards this past partner are complicated because of those things, then this will get easier for you as time goes on, the further you get from it, and the more new people you meet. I'll put it this way. The likelihood that you will spend the rest of your life with this person that you are with at the age of 22 is really slim. I'm not saying you won't spend the rest of your life with this person, because plenty of people get married in their when they're 18 as soon as they can, and then till death do they part. They're together. But it's the likelihood. I'm just saying, like, we're talking statistics. I'm not trying to be insensitive. I'm trying to actually encourage you that the world is a very big place, and life is very short, but it is a lot longer than very short at the same time. And there's plenty of fish in the sea. And I'm trying to encourage you that this is not going to. It doesn't need to overshadow every relationship you have, and that maybe with time and the further you get from that closure with your parents, the deeper that closure goes for you, the further you can get from, the further you can distance yourself from the idea that maybe you had some sense of responsibility in your lack of closure. Because I would say that, this is a very messy situation. Like, you don't deserve to be handicapped or crippled in relationships because of some things you were going through as a teenager that your parents weren't fully understanding. Again, I'm trying very hard not to give you relationship advice, but to just kind of help you dance around these different things you've mentioned and maybe connect some dots and maybe feel better about where you're going. We can't enter a relationship feeling negative. To be very clear, I'm not saying you should enter a relationship pessimistically. I think you should pretend, at least, or act like, or treat the person you're with in any circumstance as if you will be with them forever. I think that's the goal of a relationship, is to be with the person forever. But nothing is forever. Very rarely are things forever. In fact, even no relationship is forever, because people die, and relationships are not forever. They're only till death do we part, at the very longest. I'm not sure if I'm coming across as morbid to you right now, but I'm trying to be.
No,
I'm trying to be uplifting.
Like,
ironically,
you're really resonating with me.
Okay,
because
great.
that's kind of my sense of humor and stuff.
Okay,
so
great.
It makes a lot of sense to me.
I'm just trying to encourage you that life. You're young, and it doesn't mean that your experience is invalid. I think you went through something that a lot of people don't go through till later in life. I mean, you lost someone you loved, and not only that, you didn't get closure. Closure is very serious. Like, humans think in stories. Yeah, that's how we think. We think linearly. We experience time linearly. We know enough about time scientifically to know time is not linear, but we experience it linearly. And so we think in terms of stories. That's why stories are so powerful. And that's why we need closure on big life events, is because we think linearly. And when something comes to an end, we need that to be acknowledged. Offcore from the chat had something I wanted to highlight. They said, Jay from Offcore, his name's Jay. He said, I did a message in a bottle when I lost my grandmother. I lived overseas, so I missed her last days. Maybe a gesture would be a good way for you to feel a different way. And I'm wondering if there's maybe some truth to that for you. Like, maybe since you didn't get the closure you needed at your former girlfriend's funeral, that maybe there's some small gesture you could do in private. Your current partner doesn't need to know about it. I assume you're not currently passionately in love with you. I mean, it was 7 years ago that you lost your girlfriend. So I would assume that you're ready to move on and that you just lack in closure. So I'm wondering if Offcore is right, that maybe you just need some kind of gesture, some kind of private gesture, something you could do, write her a letter, send it off in a lake or the ocean or whatever, or it doesn't even have to be that. You can send a letter, put it in a balloon and send it up to the sky, or, do whatever you want. But some kind of gesture that's between you and your former partner, to kind of say goodbye and express what they meant to you, and then just watch it go off into forever. I wonder if something like that might help you find the closure on that relationship that you never got.
Yeah. I think it would.
Because I don't get the impression from you that you're looking to break up with your current partner. I think it sounds like you're very happy, but that there's this gnawing feeling of not having acknowledged what you lost fully, not having been able to acknowledge what you lost when you lost it.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with that.
Are you feeling okay? I hope I'm not prodding too much.
Yeah. I'm just like processing everything. So that's all good.
I hope I'm not throwing out too many thoughts. Again, I'm dancing around a little bit, admittedly, because I'm trying really hard not to tell you what to do in your current relationship. I don't want to mess your life up. But I'm trying to take what you've given us and highlight a couple of things from the chat, and then just explore these different tidbits of information with you in a way that will leave you feeling hopeful. And I do think there's a lot of hope here from what I've heard. I don't think you need, I don't think you're after relationship advice anyway. I think you're just, it's completely understandable. You never got to say goodbye. And, again, we need those goodbyes because we are linear thinkers. And when someone dies, it's not like we wonder if they're going to die someday. We know that they died X number of days ago, and we know if we acknowledged it on that day or not, because that's how we experience time, and that's difficult. And so I'm not trying to get too logistical or cold, but sometimes going to those places helps me resolve things that I'm going through. So I don't know if that's helping you or not, but it helps me sometimes.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it's giving me a lot to think about and to really sit back and process.
Great.
But I appreciate you giving me the chance to tell my story. There aren't a whole lot of people out there for me that allow me to do that.
That's what this place is for. I'm glad you've used it. It was great to speak with you. Thanks for sharing. I would love to hear an update from you at some point in the future. Either call back in or join our Discord and leave a comment letting us know how you're doing.
Okay. I will for sure do that. Thank you so much.
Take care of yourself. Good night. All right, guys, we're going to take one more caller, and then we're going to take our break. It does seem like this new phone menu is taking longer for people to actually get in. So again, I'll just say you should probably now anticipate, now the calls are coming in, just generally anticipate like 10 seconds longer to call in, because we have a phone menu now and you have to press some buttons. It's not just ringing straight to the desk anymore. Here we go. Next caller. Hi, thanks for calling.
Hi. I just have a question for you, Julian.
What's on your mind?
I just have written a little thing here, and I just want to ask. Hi, Julian. I've been with the channel for over 10 years, and I have been enjoying this latest series. Due to the somber nature of some of the episodes and the topics covered, I wanted to ask you if you monetize the live streams and or VOD. And if you do you give back to any mental health charities or... Toast.
This person's toast. I toasted you, my friend, because you clearly have not been watching carefully enough to know what we're doing here. Yes, we are donating 10% of profits, 15% of profits to multiple charities and helplines. This show is not profitable yet. In fact, I have not even, there hasn't even been a single check issued for this show yet, so I have no idea what it will make, but 15% of profits will be donated to various charities and helplines. We want to be helpful in this space, and that percentage is going to grow with the show. I would love nothing more than to be giving like more than half of the profits away and still be sustaining a successful series here where we're connecting with people in the same way as before. So I'm answering your question. You got toasted. To be fair, you could have learned that by reading various things we've posted or from just watching all of the stuff we've posted, as many people here have. All right, next caller. Here we go. Hi, thanks for calling.
Hello.
Hi, what do you want to talk about?
Yeah. Talk about some traumatic stuff that maybe popped up in the past, right?
Great. Sorry, I mean, not great that you've been through stuff, but actually, I would say that is great because it's a learning opportunity, and that's what we hope to explore here. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I saw your stream pop up just randomly, and I saw what it was about, and I thought, well, I've got plenty to share. Man, I don't even know where to start.
It's okay. Take your time.
At the age of 16, I lost my mom, and that was pretty tough. But on top of that, like 2 years later, something happened with my dad. He's still here, but I mean, you know, he's got problems, like he's in a wheelchair and stuff like that. I just want to talk about kind of like the headspace in which I was at and like where I'm at today.
Okay. I'm sorry to hear what you've already shared. That sounds really difficult.
Yeah, but I've definitely taken it as, like you said, a learning experience. My mom always said a famous, or just a quote that was, "Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift. That's why it's called the present."
I love that.
And the way she described it to me was, you know, when she got really sick, was yesterday's in the past. Whatever's happened, we can't change it. And you know, the future is so uncertain, and sometimes you just don't want to think about it. That living in is what's most important. And for a long time, I was always constantly worried about the future, and just in recent, probably months even, I've kind of lived by her live in the present. Mostly with my dad, having to take care of him a little bit more and kind of step up, or I had people tell me throughout life, you had to grow up a little faster than others. Felt like that was a moment in which I grow up a little faster. And so it was really hard, and you know, you develop anxiety and depression, stuff like that, and it can be really hard and really, really lonely. And I always found that statement to be what kept me going, and you know, especially I feel like I finally reached the point in which I can live in today.
So, sounds like you're dealing with some anxiety. Is that right? You're maybe, I mean, you're dealing with the loss of a mother. Sounds like your father is handicapped in some way, and is not.
Right.
At least, what is your father going through?
You know, he's going through a lot, and I do worry about him. He's in a wheelchair now. An amazing person, but he gets really down on himself. You know, he lost his wife. On top of that, he's had to be a father to three. You know, a single father of three, while also being trying to figure out how to live this new life that he's been given.
Right.
So it's really tough on him, and I do worry about his state of mind sometimes.
I see. So is it lack of closure with your mom? Is it anxiety for the future, having seen both of your parents deal with really unfair lives? Is it a combination of both? And if so, how is that different from anxiety? That was a lot, but we can slow it down a little bit if you want. That's what's going through my head.
No, you're fine. It's definitely like both of my parents have, been given very unfortunate situations for both. And so it's definitely anxiety regarding that. Like, I've talked to people before, and they ask me the question, or they tell me, they go, you're so anxious and so worried about everything because everything that could possibly go wrong in your mind, in your life, has gone wrong. So you're thinking tomorrow, why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it go wrong? Just like everything else. And that can be kind of an unhealthy state of mind, and a harmful mindset to have.
Well, so again, I'm before I go any further, I want to be very clear about what it is your current dread is. Is it that you are worried that you will be dealt a similar hand of cards as your parents, or that is it anxiety? Is it anxiety? Is it that you are worried that your actions don't really matter in life because, like, look at what happened to my parents? Is it that kind of a thing? Or I'm just trying to get real specific before I talk or explore any further.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a little bit of both. Like, I do my best to try to prevent those type of things, but like sometimes I do get in that mindset or that anxiety of like, no matter what I do, I'm just gonna follow that path. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to begin by saying I'm so sorry for to hear about your story, and I don't know what it's like to lose a parent unexpectedly. I don't know what it's like to then see my other parent become handicapped and try to raise a family of 3 while adjusting to a handicapped lifestyle. I hear you expressing the pain that you've experienced from watching all of this go down, and I just want to be very clear that I can only imagine what that must feel like. I've not dealt with loss in those specific ways, but I have dealt with loss. I have dealt with unexpected loss, and I am empathizing with you from my own experience, and knowing what that's like to be surprised by the cards we're dealt in life. And, I would take this conversation to a similar place I went to with the last caller. I would go to a little bit of admittedly a little bit of a cold place, a little bit of a scientific place, in order to just establish a baseline of what we're dealing with, and then I would go into a more, then I would deal with my feelings outside of that. So, in a very cold, stark sense, life is, all of life in the entire universe is subject to entropy. We're in a closed system that where all energy is constantly dissipating, and everything falls apart in life, in the entire universe, unless it is maintained. And even with maintaining things, everything eventually will fall apart. We can, as humans, we're unique. We're a unique life form because with our intention, with our brains, we can commit to maintaining things and digging in and doing certain, acting in certain ways or performing in certain ways where we can maintain our own bodies and take control of our own lives to work against entropy. And again, I realize we're talking in some scientific abstractions here that only abstractly apply to our practical daily life. But I'm trying to establish a baseline. So I don't know if I'm losing you, but I'm trying to establish a really cold baseline.
Oh, no.
Is everything I'm saying making sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, as a baseline, what I'm saying is that, we, uh, uh, I don't know your parents. I don't know. Um, I only know what you've shared. I don't know if they lived a healthy lifestyle. I don't know if they maintained their health in a way where they, as best they could. I know that a lot of people from previous generations didn't have access to the best information. In a lot of ways, people our age, and by our age, I don't know how old you are. You haven't told me, but you sound like you're between 20s or 30s would be my guess. And people our age have a lot more access to information. We know a lot better now, better than ever before, what our bodies need, and how to, and even outside of what our body needs, we understand a lot more about relationships and career and pretty much we know more about everything than our parents did. Basically, we just have more access to information than they did. So as a really cold baseline, I'm just saying that I don't know what led to your parents being dealt the cards that they were dealt. It could have been genetics. It could have been lifestyle, but that all of that aside, I'm trying to. The purpose of this baseline is to give you hopes that if you take agency in your own life, it doesn't matter what you came from. It doesn't matter what you saw happen around you, even if it was to your parents or your siblings. You have agency in this world, in your life, to take control of the things you have control over and exercise agency in those ways with those things. And so, again, we haven't gotten very specific about what led to all of this tragedy, but just generally, I do believe that to be true. No matter what the specific case is, that we can always there's always some agency that we have to make things better for ourselves in the present day than they were yesterday, or than they were for people years ago. I don't know if that is a helpful baseline to establish, but that's what came to mind.
Oh yeah, just like thinking when I first got on this phone call, I found it a little shaky. My heart felt like it was beating out of its chest, and just like talking about it kind of gave me anxiety. But like after hearing that, like I feel a little less, and I do think like I very much like to be in control of how my life goes, and just like hearing somebody else just say, you have control of your life, like that's within your control, really helps, I think, at least for me.
Right. Now, to argue against myself a little bit, and potentially at the risk of confusing you, which I don't want to do, but just to be very fair, I would add that, essentially it sounds like what we're talking about is something very philosophical. It sounds like we're talking about being deterministic versus believing in free will. And, again, just to be very fair, nobody can tell you that. Nobody can tell you if we live in a world that is deterministic or if we live in a world where free will exists. And, people have been working on that problem since we have been thinking as humans. But, I do believe you're talking to somebody that believes that even if we do live in a deterministic world, or a world of, some people call it predestination, determinism, even if the world is that way, we have no choice but to act like we have free will, and living as if we have free will and taking that control is the only path forward in life. And I'm adding that, again, at the risk of confusing you, but to just better illustrate to me that there's a distinction there, because we have to roll our sleeves up and pull ourselves up by our bootstraps sometimes. when it seems all the odds are against us, and we have to do things that don't make sense sometimes. And so many times in life and with so many different experiences, that's the only way forward. And so I'm adding that last bit as, I hope that didn't darken the mood, but I'm saying that, sometimes life will feel that way, like there's no way out, and it doesn't matter what we do. There is no free will. Sometimes we hear these thoughts, but, I believe that, and I've also spoken with and interviewed a bunch of, deterministic leaning scientists and stuff, people that are, that don't believe in free will. And these people, even these people say, we need to at least act upon free will, even if it's an illusion, because if we don't have free will, then we have nothing. And so, it kind of reminds me of that lyric. Oh man, give me a second. I wonder, Let the Mystery Be. I love this song. Some people find it a little insensitive, and it has some religious undertones, but it to me makes sense here in just in a really beautiful philosophical way. Are you familiar with that song, Let the Mystery Be?
It sounds fairly familiar.
Okay. I'm going to read this. You got to look this song up and listen to it, because the song is so beautiful. It's an acoustic vocal. It's written by Iris Dement. She has a beautiful voice. It's just this wonderful, simple little song. Can I read the lyrics to you?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if this is on point. Maybe this is a complete rabbit trail, but this is a beautiful song regardless. You'll enjoy the lyrics, I hope. Maybe you hate it. It seems relevant to me. The lyric says, everybody is wondering. Oh, I had an ad pop up. Now I lost the lyrics. Go away, ads. Okay, here we go. Everybody is wondering what and where they all came from. Everybody is worrying about where they're going to go when the whole thing's done. But no one knows for certain, and so it's all the same to me. I think I'll just let the mystery be. Some say once you're gone forever. And some say you're going to come back. Some say you rest in the arms of the Savior, if in sinful ways you lack. Some say that they're coming back in a garden, bunch of carrots and little sweet peas. I think I'll just let the mystery be. It has two more verses. It says, some say they're going to a place called glory, and I ain't saying it ain't a fact. But I've heard that I'm on the road to purgatory, and I don't like the sound of that. I believe in love, and I live my life accordingly, but I choose to let the mystery be. Everybody's wondering what and where they all came from. Everybody's worrying about where they'll go when the whole thing's done. But no one knows for certain, so it's all the same to me. I think I'll just let the mystery be. And again, you could take that lyric a million different ways. You could say it's an argument for or against being religious, and I want to be very clear, that's not how I'm using it here. To me, you're talking about the uncertainty of tomorrow. You're talking about how do I plow forward and feel good about my decisions in life without having the reassurance that tomorrow will be okay. And I just think that sentiment, let the mystery be, is so important because we don't know what tomorrow holds, but we wake up every day prepared to tackle it, and that's the only way tomorrow gets better, is that preparedness. That's what I believe anyway.
Yeah, I really think those lyrics are beautiful, and I think that song kind of goes well with my mom's favorite quote. I think she would have loved that song.
Yeah, it's a great song. It was the theme song for The Americans, which is one of my favorite TV shows, by the way. I have only finished maybe like 4 or 5 TV shows in my entire life because I watched that much TV, guys. But The Americans, highly recommend watching that show. It's a great existential, philosophical show. Unbelievable. My good. Do you know that show?
I've heard of it, and I've seen it, and I've scrolled over it, and I've I know exactly what you're talking about, but I've watched it.
Gotta watch that show from episode 1 to the final episode. Like I said, it's one of like 4 shows I've watched all the way through. Unbelievable show. And I hope that lyric wasn't off base. It seemed relevant to me. I still don't know if it was, but I just sensed.
Oh no, I think that's correct on theme.
Okay, great. Well, I don't know if this call's been helpful. What else would make this helpful? I feel for you in your situation, and I don't know exactly what would make you feel better, but I'm just trying to encourage you a little bit.
Oh yeah, I think definitely I needed here right now or in recent events for sure.
Are you there? You cut out a little bit.
Oh, sorry. I said, yeah, that's definitely, I think what I needed to hear in recent events.
I see.
I appreciate it a lot.
I appreciate you calling and sharing, and what you're going through is not easy. I want to repeat that. I will be thinking of you, and I wish you tons of energy for tomorrow. I wonder what's one thing you could do tomorrow in the morning that you think would be a small footstep towards where you need to go, whether that's applying yourself in some new way or changing one thought pattern or ridding yourself of a particular thought that's holding you back tomorrow. What's one step tomorrow that can make it better than today was?
My dad has told me, everybody's told me I need to turn my ringer off. It's something I could even do tonight. Turn it off at night. I'm so nervous there's going to be an emergency of some kind, and my dad's always telling me, don't worry, it's not, everything's going to be okay. Even, not turning off my phone, but I could definitely put it on silent rather than, because that is a constant stressor, and everybody's been telling me to do it, and kind of not wanted to do it, but I understand. There's not going to be an emergency every single night, and maybe just sleeping a little more soundly without the ringer on my phone on.
That's a great idea. Very insightful. I think that's a great idea. That's wonderful. Yeah, and you could also, I don't know what kind of phone you have, but on a lot of phones you can silence all the notifications, but add like a couple of people to some exception list so that if like your dad calls, for example, he can get through, but no one else can. I don't know if you have a phone that can do that.
Good point. Really, really good point.
Right. And I'll also say that your idea of silencing your phone is awesome. I have Do Not Disturb on a lot for similar reasons, and I also have a dear friend of mine who I've known for, gosh, it must be 20 years at this point. Old friend of mine, met him when I was 17. We're still friends, dear friends. And he recently did the same thing, and I realized about a year ago or so that this person was really hard to reach by phone. Like I would text them, and I was used to getting like a text back right away, and like a week would go by and I'd be like, oh wow, like so-and-so still hasn't texted me back. And so it eventually led to a conversation between the two of us where I was like, hey man, I hope this isn't a weird question, but I just want to make sure I haven't like upset you or done something wrong in your eyes, because I've noticed you're harder to reach. And they opened up to me and they were like, actually, this is just something I've done for my own mental health. I'm not looking at text messages except for like specific times, and I have all my notifications blocked. And I've noticed in this person that it has helped with their mental health a lot, and it's inspired me to do. For everybody it's different. I don't think I need mine like silenced all the time, but everybody's different, and so really roundabout way of me saying I think that's a great idea, and I've seen that be really beneficial for people. So I'm really glad you have that direction, and I hope that really does help you. I hope you get more ideas like that as you carry on.
Yeah. I think that's a really good first step then, just hearing your feedback on it.
Great. Well, thank you for calling in and sharing. Is there anything else you want to say?
I just want to thank you so much. I've been following you forever, and I didn't even realize that you had this little live stream going until literally like an hour ago. And I was like, oh my God, this would be a fantastic time to call. And you picked up, and it was just, thank you so much. I appreciate everything that you've done in your YouTube career, and I love this live stream out here.
That means so much to me. This is a really special project to me. I really hope it gets enough traction to keep going because we're just pouring everything into it right now. And it's really late at night intentionally because people like you, this is the time of night people will call in. People are at home this time of night. People are people can't have these kinds of conversations while they're at work, and it's a really difficult time of night to do a show, but I do believe that every night we have more people than we can answer each night calling in. So I'm really glad you used the space. And again, my heart goes out to you for all you're going through, and I do wish you the best in moving forward. I am curious also because I didn't get your age. Do you mind sharing your age?
Oh yeah, I'm 21.
You're 21. Man, I'm so sorry that you're dealing with this at the age of 21. I would love to get some kind of update from you, knowing how you're doing. So in the future, feel free to call back anytime, give us an update, or join our Discord and give us an update there, however makes you comfortable.
Sure.
Well, take care of yourself. Thanks for calling tonight. Have a good night.
Thanks. Good night.
Goodbye. Okay, guys, it's 10:48. Gonna take a quick break here. We take an intermission around the middle of the stream here, break this up into 2 parts. It gives me a chance to clear my head so I can listen better and not conflate details from different callers. I joke this is the time of night where everybody leaves. And usually I have a little jokey drum sound there, but I didn't. Actually, yeah, here, we'll do it. There we go. That's my joke. And also, I forgot to play the toast sound last time. To that person who called in with admittedly, it was a very good question. I toasted you. It was a good question you had. I hope you understand, if you're still watching, that I didn't think it was an unfair question. It's just like, there's a better place to ask that question. So you clearly, I'm not insulting you. You clearly didn't know what these phone lines were used for. It seemed like you thought the question was appropriate on the air, but we've been going overboard with text on the screen and instruction menus on phones. So I'm still just baffled anytime somebody gets through and doesn't understand what kind of questions we're looking for. I thought it was a totally fair question. I hope I gave you the information you were looking for. All right, we'll be back in 5 minutes. If you can stick around, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We are back. Welcome back. We'll give everybody a second to get back in here. Actually, it looks like our view count hasn't dropped that much. I also want to acknowledge a generous super chat that I missed earlier because we were in the middle of a call. Who was that? Can someone remind me? Centipede. Thank you, Centipede. I don't know what to do when those super chats come in the middle of a conversation. So, sorry. I'm just now getting to that, but thank you, Centipede. And we are going to take our next caller. Here we go. Hi, thanks for calling. Hello?
Hi.
Hi, what do you want to talk about?
Oh, I'm actually on the live stream. Okay. Hi. So, wow. So I'm really nervous right now. I wanted to go over my problems with my anxiety. So when I was, sorry, I'm trying to get my thoughts organized together.
Take your time.
Essentially, when I was about 4 years old, I was diagnosed with high-functioning autism, and that makes me incredibly introverted. A part of that is also I obsess over the most minuscule of things, right? So, and before in my life, it didn't really have much of an effect on me, right? I can just go into a corner and cry because I was a little child, but now I'm a junior in high school, and this is where I really have to start thinking about my future. And, you know, with the whole obsession thing happening, it's really fucked with me. It's really been fucking with me recently, right? So I want to be a musician when I'm older, and it's a very risky path. So it can just be at any random time. Once I start thinking about my plans for the future, I immediately get into a zone of, holy shit, I'm going to fail. My heart starts racing, and I can barely breathe because of how nervous I am about the future. And it's really kind of turned into a whole entire breakdown of self-hatred because it's because of my obsessive tendencies mixed in with it's because of my obsessive tendencies that I'm not even trying to make any more plans for the future because I'm too afraid of feeling the way that I do when thinking about it. I'm not sure if that makes total sense, but yeah, that's kind of what's happening.
Yeah, not only does it make perfect sense, but I'm also impressed with how few words you just used to describe all of that as a junior in high school. You seem very put together. You seem very aware of the responsibility for yourself that you carry. Hearing you talk about your perspective on, the riskiness of this line of work you're interested in, and also the fact, I mean, I can't remember exactly how you put it, but you expressed that you understand you're at the time of life where the volume knob is getting turned up on, you got this intensity knob that starts getting dialed up as you're right around your junior year of high school, your last couple years of high school, as you get into college, if you choose to go into college, all the way up till your 30s, like that volume knob is just cranking up. It's because time is passing, time is finite, and we all die at some point, and we don't know when. And with something like music, or any of the arts, any of the artistic career options available, they're the riskiest ones because, I mean, we've had callers call in with similar anxieties, and what I usually say is that celebrities are called celebrities for a reason, because they are celebrated, because they've made it. They didn't die, because it is so risky. That's why they're celebrities. They didn't die. They made it successfully or positively using their art to, in a positive way, influence the world, and that's why we call them celebrities. It's a celebratory kind of thing, and so I'm just, I guess, echoing back to you what I hear you saying in different words as a starting point, and I think that again, just to bring it back to the original point I made, I think it's really great that you understand the risks involved with the passions you have. It doesn't mean you shouldn't pursue them. I would say, I haven't heard any of your music, and I haven't heard much about the story other than some general statements you shared. And this isn't a career advice show. But I would just echo back to you that I think it's really great you have this perspective you have of understanding the danger involved with pursuing your passions. And I would say that for me, it's been encouraging before to listen to interviews with, I hate the word celebrity. The only reason I use it in this case is because it's a celebratory, that's the etymology of the word celebrity. But I really do hate the word celebrity. I'm going to use it a few times, though, for the lack of a better term. It's been helpful for me before to listen to interviews with celebrities I admire and hear them talk about how anxious they get before they go on stage and do something. Every celebrity gets nerves, even when they're performing a song they know everybody loves for the 100th time in the same arena, that they've been to dozens of times before. These are normal feelings. And again, I would say that's why we call them celebrities, because it's such a dangerous thing. And it might sound like I'm trying to build a mountain in front of you to deter you from climbing it. But in fact, what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to inspire you that, climbing that mountain is not going to be easy. But if it's what you feel you need to do, then you've got to at least try scaling it. There was I can't remember who said this. There's a quote that I'm going to use. I can't remember who said it. It was a female celebrity. There's that term again that I hate. Female, I want to say it was Meryl Streep or someone like that, said something about, gosh, it's going to drive me nuts if I can't think of who this was that said this. Gosh, hang on. Let me see if I can find the actual quote. I don't want to butcher the words, but why don't I toss this back to you? Because I just talked for like 3 minutes, and while I'm finding this quote, I'm wondering what you're thinking as I'm saying these things. And while you're talking, I'll look for this quote.
Well, frankly, my heart's kind of racing because now I'm starting to think about the whole future thing, getting to that zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess what I'm really thinking is, I'm doing my best to try to just think through exactly what I want to do for my future, because that's what I always do, frankly.
Right.
I think it's less of a matter of what exactly I'm going to do for my future and more about how do I overcome this really burdening anxiety, because that's what's causing me to start to freak out, and that's what's causing me to not even try to climb that mountain, It's like, how do I get past that first little barrier? Well, it's not a little barrier at all, but it's how do I get past that mountain of its own, of that anxiety and obsessive tendencies, because I feel like once I get past that, scaling that mountain will still be difficult, but I feel like I'll have a better perspective on things and it won't cause panic attacks like it does today. And I know it's going to get worse from here if I keep with this perspective,
Yeah, and I want to be very careful because I realize I'm talking with someone still in high school. And I remember being in high school, and I remember how much weight was on my shoulders at the time. So I want to be very careful. If I had, I was hoping that what I just said would relieve you a little bit, but I understand why it stressed you out. I want to be very careful not to stress you out. I want to re-emphasize that my impression of what I just told you is a very hopeful picture. You mentioned that your heart was racing a little bit after I said that, and I want to be very careful because that was not the intent of what I shared. I don't want to deter you from being creative. I'm trying to create in my mind, what is a helpful picture, an objective picture of what professional art is. I still haven't found the quote. I'll share it to you with you now. It seems like a logical time to share it. The quote is something along the lines of, I still can't find who said this, but it's basically like, the sentiment is, doing this, no one should do this unless they absolutely have to. And, the sentiment was referring to what we would generally call being a celebrity, being famously known for some kind of art. And again, this doesn't hold the same weight as it would if I could attribute this to the right person. It's like a Meryl Streep type figure it's like a very well-known person that said this. Basically, like, don't do this unless you absolutely have to. And what I think they're saying is like, that quote, when I first heard it, was really confusing to me. I heard it in high school, and I remember thinking, like, it kind of got my heart racing in a similar way that sounded like what I said to you a second ago made your heart race. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that what that quote actually means is that in art we create from a place of art is created from a place of tragedy. I would say at least 80% of the time. It's art is an ideal. It's a idealistic pursuit. You're trying to channel things that have happened in your life into something better. You're trying to inspire people. Art is often what gets people through really difficult situations. I mean, look at Banksy. Like, that's the worst. It's the best and worst example I can think of, which is why I'm selecting Banksy. It's graffiti. It's illegal. But Banksy is loved for this illegal art that gets left up all over the world because it's this ideal. The images Banksy paints are these idealistic. It comes from a place of tragedy. We don't know who Banksy is, but we know that Banksy is a person that has some ideals that clearly come from a place of some kind of loss or tragedy, and that's what art is. And so, gosh, I'm trying to be really careful because I don't want to stress you out as a high schooler. I'm not sure if what I'm saying is helping you at all.
Well,
Am I just freaking you out?
No. I want to simplify. So I don't want to bring up a whole new topic, but there is one side of me. I kind of have two sides to me. So the thing you were talking about before, your initial response to my whole spiel was, it didn't stress me out. It was more of like a reality that I knew I kind of had to accept. So honestly, it was pretty inspiring, like kind of seeing like there's a big mountain here and it will be kind of risky, but hell yeah, I'm going to climb that mountain. Then just the back of my mind kind of saying, fuck, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's kind of freaking out in the background, but when I say my heart's racing, it's just kind of that other part of me kind of freaking out. But where I am right now, kind of the me that I'm kind of trying to focus on, it's inspiring. So, I mean, I don't want you to think that you're stressing me out. That, of course, that my subconscious is always going to be freaking out because that's just kind of who I am right now. But the person that I'm trying to become, the person that I'm trying to focus on the most is truly inspired by your words for sure. And honestly, you really helped me so far.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I want to just double down on something that I'm not sure has landed. Maybe it has already, so I might be wasting your time. But just to be very clear, that quote I shared about, again, I can't remember who said it, but it was a very, it was an older person. And there's a million quotes like this. The chat is already given. I've seen a bunch of suggestions in the chat of quotes that were close, but not quite the one I was thinking of. So it's clear that this is a sentiment that many artists have reappropriated, I guess you could say. But the general thought is that don't do this unless you have to, meaning that like what that means is like what is it that compels you to make things? What is the tragedy that you come from, and how do you turn that into something that people can get value from in some way, whether that value is a laugh or a cry, a good cry, or something that for some people it's I'm thinking of paintings as well. We were talking about Banksy. Like often Banksy works. I don't know if you know Banksy. Do you know who I'm talking about when I'm talking about Banksy?
Oh yeah, I love that dude.
Okay, yeah. So Banksy's art doesn't usually evoke laughter or tears, but people buy Banksy prints and hang them up in their house because they mean something. It evokes something. It's evocative. And so when I'm not going to give you career advice, but I'm just trying to help you as a high schooler contextualize what art means to in a professional sense, like what it looks like to be a successful artist. And I think that's what it is it's a lot of artists are really troubled people. I was this is a heavy this is a heavy thought, but, I'm thinking of Robin Williams, one of the greatest, in my opinion, one of the greatest artists of all time. And he had a lot of problems, of course. He had a lot of demons he was dealing with. But what an amazing artist. And he turned his inner turmoil into how many millions of laughs for people. How much dopamine was that guy worth? And when I say dopamine, I mean like dopamine. I think has a negative connotation today, but it's actually it's a good thing for us if we're not overloading our brains with it. Dopamine is meant to be it's a reward. It's a mental reward that we get, and laughter has been proven to be healthy for us because of chemicals like dopamine that are released when we laugh. And my point is that someone like Robin Williams, died in such a tragic way. Clearly had a lot of demons that he was trying to work out through his art. And I think that's what makes a professional artist, is somebody that can turn their experiences into positive results. And it's not all art. Like it's not just creative people that do this. I think pretty much every professional turns their experiences into problem-solving abilities. Everybody has to do that. But with art, specifically, it is a very dangerous field. I'm empathizing with you on that. You're right. But I love to hear the motivation you have in your voice. Like I love how after I shared for about 3 minutes and then turned it over to you, you were like, oh yeah, I'm going to climb that mountain. I loved hearing the motivation in your voice. That's the spirit it takes. It takes people that know why they're doing what they're doing and what it's going to take to get through it. And it's art is beautiful, and that's why. If you're asking me, that's what I would say.
Wow. So I'm really happy with how this conversation turned out, because the advice you're giving me, I had an idea of such a thing, because I've had my band directors, my parents, my family all kind of saying somewhat around that area. But I think you organizing, all these different ideas into kind of a singular conversation and even a singular quote, I think that really helped me understand some things. Because again, as a part of my autism, I have a kind of a hard time organizing my ideas, and I become overwhelmed very easily, overstimulated. So I think you seriously just helped me kind of get a better perspective, get a more clear perspective on things. And honestly, I feel a lot more calm now. Hopefully you hear it in my voice. But I just really got to thank you for that, man.
At the risk of confusing you, I want to highlight something from the chat from Deanna Krebs. One of our moderators here. She says she's quoting Robin Williams here. This is a beautiful Robin Williams quote, but this highlights a distinction I was making earlier. Again, this might confuse you after the conversation we just had, but I'll read it. It says, Robin Williams says, through Deanna Krebs to you, I think the saddest people always try their hardest to make people happy because they know what it feels like to feel absolutely worthless. And they don't want anybody else to feel like that. I'm familiar with that quote from Robin Williams. It's a beautiful sentiment. I do think, though, there's, I want to emphasize that, obviously Robin Williams died in a really tragic way, and he had a lot of demons. He had a lot of, I don't know his full story. I don't know if that's public even, but I would say that, maybe Robin Williams wasn't the best example. I mean, he's a beautiful example because he that quote is exactly what Robin Williams' life appears to have been. But I think there is a distinction between that idea and the idea that I shared earlier through the quote I can't attribute to the right person about do not do this unless you absolutely have to. I think the distinction is that people don't want to. I think a healthy trajectory, a healthy attitude towards creativity is not that you know what it feels like to feel absolutely worthless and you don't want other people to feel like that. I would challenge that idea that Robin Williams had. I would say that it's that we channel the things we go through in life into better ideas, to inspire others, to strive for a better tomorrow. And it's not simply about wanting others to not feel worthless, because everybody deals with some kind of self-doubt. Everybody goes through some kind of self-doubt, whether that's imposter syndrome or self-hatred or self-harm. All these things are doubt, and that's the challenge of an artist, is how do you create and without doubting yourself. And that's what I think is so beautiful about that sentiment. Again, I wish I could remember who said it, but don't do this unless you have to. It's like, if you have to, it's like, I have no choice but to take what I've been given, these lemons. I have to make lemonade from these lemons. It's my only choice. That's what's beautiful to me about that quote. I don't know if I just confused you or not, but just a little small distinction.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense, actually.
Okay, great. Well, best of luck to you. You're young. You have a good head on your shoulders. Try to figure out what it is that you are trying to say, and say it. And every lyric we write, every script we write, every picture we paint, every thing that we make is a solution to a problem that somebody has. And again, I would just bring it back to that's why we celebrate celebrities, those who have done it with a positive impact and not died, because it's risky business. But I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear an update like, hey, I've been making music and we're on tour, or we don't know what life gives us. Maybe it's something else. Maybe you get into this. I thought I was going to be a musician when I was a kid, and then my career has taken so many dovetails and opened up new surprises to me that I had no idea were going to be even on the table. And life is an adventure. We don't know what will be served to us or what we will find. But, that's the beauty of life.
Yeah. Wow. Sorry, I'm just trying to process that. That was beautiful, man. Wow.
Well, I'm struggling to know if I've just overloaded you, or I'm trying to be helpful. I don't want to overload you. Want to make these calls helpful, obviously. Hope I haven't confused you or overloaded you.
No, I promise. I only get overstimulated when it comes to like social settings, like when it's like a huge party and stuff, or if I'm like overwhelmed by my own obsessive tendencies, like I mentioned. But no, I think what you provided for me was very much beneficial and very much helpful, because I'm glad I got on this call, because I was kind of starting to spiral, because typically that's what happens at around midnight. If I stay up too late, I start to get into that little spiral. So I'm glad I found this live stream. Just in my recommendation. So this definitely benefited me, and whatever it be, like God, the universe, or whatever, they provided me with this recommendation. So this definitely benefited me.
Great.
Didn't overwhelm me at all.
I'm glad to hear that. Thanks so much for calling in. Glad you found us, and take care of yourself. Call back again anytime.
Thank you. Can I just mention one thing? Just because I'm a huge fan of yours. Just really quick, really brief.
Sure, what's up?
Okay. I just gotta say, I've been watching you since I was in the 5th grade in 2015. That's when I think that was around when you were in your prime. I was an absolute mega fan of yours. My favorite sketch by yours is Waffles with a Rhett and Link, and I thought that was the funniest thing. You really got me and my sister, who was in a really bad episode of mental health. You helped her go through a lot of really hard times as well. So I gotta say, man, I'm a huge fan of yours. I'm kind of freaking out right now, but I want to make it brief. So thank you very much, man, for allowing me on the call.
I appreciate all the support, and thanks again for calling in tonight. Great to hear from you, and again, hoping for a positive update from you, either here on a phone call or in the Discord. Would love to see that. Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Good night. Beautiful. Okay, next caller. Here we go, jumping right in. Hi, thanks for calling. Hello?
Hello?
Hi, thanks for calling. What you want to talk about?
Oh my God, Julian, how's it going, man?
I'm all right. This is about you. How are you doing?
Okay, had a bit of a rough night to be honest. I got like sorry, I'm moving away from the stream here in double. But no, I've been just hanging out with my girlfriend. I was with my girlfriend, my dogs, and sorry, that's a crazy night. And I'm also kind of starstruck here, my guy, dude. I've loved you since I was a kid. But um, my dog came into my room. I was playing Sonic Mania on my Switch, and he smelled like pee and fecal matter. And my uncle is staying with me right now. He's elderly, so he's using diapers. Um, and my dog came in smelling really bad, and my uncle's also like a pretty heavy drug user, so my dog came in and smelled really bad, like pee. I kind of did some investigating, and he got into the bag filled with a diaper and like all kinds of gross old person diapers, cleaning stuff, and he just ate it and licked a bunch of pee that has a bunch of substances and medication and drugs in it, and that was kind of stressful. I'm concerned over my dog's well-being. I don't have that much money. My other dog is already fairly addicted to substances due to the same issues, and yeah, I just wish I could, get away from it. I want to move out. I want to find a better part in life. Like, I'm completely clean. I work at a school with kids, and I fear for my job too. Don't want to lose anything due to a substance. Kind of worrying.
So is this about, I sense that this is not about your pets actually, but that you're painting a picture of a setting that you're in that you're having a hard time getting out of. Is that it?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
Because I can't help you with your dogs, obviously.
Oh, yeah. And luckily,
I don't
she's
speak
okay.
dog.
She's just feeling well.
Yeah. So your uncle lives with you? The drug user?
Yeah. It's a crazy situation. My mom kind of stuck him here because they all got a restraining order because my mom got in a fight at my grandma's house, and that's where he used to stay, and he was staying with them, so he got a restraining order too. Staying with us.
So there's a restraining order against your uncle, and he's staying with you. Sounds like you trust him, but also sounds like you don't trust him, unless I'm missing something.
He's 75 years old, and I've lived through so much. I don't really trust nobody. I just kind of in a situation. I'm only 21. I'm just barely making enough money. I've already moved out twice to try to get away from it, but I keep getting stuck back here due to just my brother moved. I had to move again because he moved all the way to Oregon, so I was gonna lose my job. And
please, no more locations. It's not your location, so I'll let it slide. But please, no more locations, no names. This is anonymous.
Yeah, I got you.
What would make this a helpful call?
I just kind of want to know that, I don't know, like, I talked to my mom. She said, like, oh, you got to make it not about the substance. Like, you got to stop acting like this is all about the substance. And I'm just like, no, a big part of it is about, like, you guys are heavy substance abusers, and it's, like, really affecting. And, like, I just want to know that, like, am I getting gaslit for worrying about them making it such a small issue? Like, I don't know.
Well,
I feel like
I can't diagnose anybody. You use the term gaslight. That's, implying some kind of narcissism or borderline personality, some kind of psychopathy. I can't diagnose anybody. Even if I was qualified, these kind of phone calls are not, short phone call is not how that's done. But I would say that your home is your sanctuary. That's your property, to put it very plainly. And I don't know your relationship with your uncle, but it doesn't sound like your uncle is in the best of the best mind right now. If they're not, if they're neglecting their pets and they smell horrible and their pets are eating drugs in adult diapers, yeah, I could see why maybe you're feeling gaslit. And I would say that your home is your sanctuary. And if that is at all on your radar, doesn't matter if the person's a psychopath or not. Like, your home is your sanctuary. Who you let into your home and when and why and how. These are very important things, is what I would say.
Yeah, no, that's definitely my main point too, and I try to get it across to my family. Like, it's severely affecting my home life and my comfort being in my home, and it, I've already had to move out several times because of it. I've been in unsafe situations and homes where I wasn't the safest.
Right.
Just past abuse that actually got me put in foster care homes and systems that I just got put in because I've been exposed to this. Some would call it abuse. My family calls it normal. So I just don't know. I don't know what this feels.
How old are you?
I'm laughing because it's just overwhelming sometimes.
How old are you?
I'm 21.
Yeah, my opinion would be that, I'm not gonna. You use the term gaslighting to be very clear, and I don't diagnose people. I can't diagnose people. But I am familiar with psychopathy and have dealt with a lot of psychopaths. I understand being gaslit by many different types of relationships, and I'm wondering if there is some kind of lack of boundary there. And I would say I would ask you, like, do you feel bad putting some kind of boundary down with people like this in your family? And if so, why? Where do you think that comes from?
Definitely, dude, because every time I do, like the last time, for instance, my mom asked me to send some random guy. She said it was my uncle, but she asked me to send some random guy over Cash App some money. It was like $50, and I won't say the name, but it was a really obscure name that definitely wasn't my uncle's name. And I was having dinner with my girlfriend's family, and she calls me frantically saying, "I need you right now. I need you to answer it now." And she gave me the rundown. Basically, nothing added up. She didn't tell me why she needed the money. She was really freaking out, saying that she needed to send it to my uncle, but it wasn't my uncle's name or Cash App or anything. And then I told her I don't really feel comfortable doing it because I don't really, there's a past there, and I don't really want to contribute to it. And, I appreciate and respect her as a mother, but there's a side that I really want to try to protect from, one, my financial security, and two, those boundaries, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And they got pretty abusive, yelling, saying, "Oh, you're a piece of shit, you're good for fucking nothing," the works. And it's just hard to face that. I don't like having to be the one to set boundaries. I wish they were already known, but I've had to do it several times, but it seems every time I face some sort of pretty harsh repercussion.
Well, I would say that makes perfect sense. If you have, these are some big ifs I'm about to use. If it's true that you are dealing with potentially members of family that might be psychopaths or that are gaslighting you, at the very least, they don't have to be psychopaths to be gaslighting you, but that's just the common tendency of a psychopath, obviously. I'm trying to be very careful because every time I say psychopath in the stream, it's like the same thing as saying Jordan Peterson on the stream. People light up. But that's my joke. Where's my soundboard? That's my joke. That was a great joke. Wow, that was amazing. My point is that no matter if they're psychopath or not, how you conduct yourself can make a huge difference. I'm wondering if you're familiar with this book, Nonviolent Communication.
No, I'm not familiar with that. I don't do a lot of reading these days, so I work out of school. I read The Hungry Caterpillar the other day.
Okay, kind of counts. Nonviolent communication is many more pages than the Hungry Caterpillar, but it is a very helpful book, in my opinion, on communication with anybody. But it's especially helpful, in my opinion, if you're dealing with someone that you don't know might have some kind of psychopathy or mental disorder, because these kinds of people. Have people who are psychopaths are very sensitive to. They have key trigger words, which I realize is 3 keywords in and of themselves. They have keywords that are triggers. That's how I'd say it. And it's different for everybody, but like there are ways to communicate with people like this that can imply certain boundaries non-violently or diplomatically, you could say. So if you're dealing with somebody that is guilt-tripping you, again, whether they're a psychopath or not, I'm only entertaining that because you're mentioning it, with the gaslighting and whatnot. Whether that's true or not, it sounds like maybe your communication could have some more tact. Not saying that you're untactful, but like more, you could implement some more strategy into the kinds of words you use with these people. Like maybe your vernacular changes when you're talking with these specific people because it's not been proven to be a safe relationship. If it's not a safe relationship, then you avoid talking in certain ways, and your vernacular is a little more specific with these kinds of people. I'm going to put this book in the chat for you. I'm typing fast. Sorry if there's typos. Nonviolent Communication. It's an amazing book. There's also a good book that I would recommend that is specific to breaking up with a narcissist. But in my experience, it's been helpful in so many other ways. I'm trying to be vague because my story is not anonymous and implicates many people that I'm not going to name. But there's a book called Should I Stay or Should I Go? And again, it's about breaking up with a narcissist, but it's so helpful in so many different ways in determining whether your relationship with a specific person ought to change or have or look differently. And so I'm going to recommend that you read these 2 books. Are you a good reader?
Yeah, I've always been pretty fluent. I always have pretty good comprehension skills. Love my books.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for that. That actually seems really helpful. I have more than a couple family members that I have to tread lightly around when it comes to my vernacular and my wordplay. So
okay.
That definitely means a lot. I seem to be able to do it more naturally with my students because I'm a behavior specialist, so that doesn't give out too much.
Okay.
But
I'll recommend.
With my family,
I'll recommend one more book then, because you just said walking on eggshells. There's a great book called Stop Walking on Eggshells. And the subtitle is Taking Your Life Back When Someone You Care About Has Borderline Personality Disorder. And borderline personality disorder, BPD, is a brand of psychopathy, if you will. But this book is not just pertaining to borderline personality disorder. It pertains to anybody that you feel you might be walking on eggshells with. So I'm going to include this one here. Stop Walking on Eggshells. So there's 3 books there that would be a great resource for you, I believe, just based on what you've shared. That sounds really hard. It's funny, like when you first called in, I was thinking, like, you were talking about dogs eating diapers and stuff, and I was like, there's gotta be, I sensed that this was not a troll. I sensed there was actually something more here that you were really confused about, and it wasn't simply about dogs eating diapers. I'm so glad we talked about it.
I was really joking with my girlfriend, telling her, like, what if I called in and talked about this? That would probably relieve a lot of stress. And oddly enough, it did. But
Good.
Also, it's just what a stream highlight. Just kidding, but no, that definitely probably came from left field. But no, that's certainly what happened tonight. There's more situations, and things like that happen. it's just hard. It's just hard to deal with. Sometimes you gotta at least give a brief description to someone.
Right.
I'm
Well,
very glad that you were there for that. Thank you.
well, thank you for calling in and sharing. Wish you the best of luck in finding new ways in your relationships with your communication and boundaries. These are hard things, but everybody learns them, and nobody's situation is the same. Everybody has to learn these things to different extents and in different shades of color, and because nobody's situation is the same. So I'm glad you called in and shared. The chat is full of different ideas you can revisit for food for thought, and wishing you the best of luck.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate you, man. And thank you for Akbar. Akbar is really a piece of art.
I appreciate that. I also, Akbar holds a special place in my heart, but I can't be thanked for that. That was the work of Jeffrey Dallas. So
Jeffrey Dallas, but even hearing that voice say Akbar makes me smile.
mine too, of course. How can you not smile at a piece of corn with face painted on it? This has been accused of some serious corn appropriation issues that I've come to find. That was a joke. The soundboard is that was a joke, guys. That was a joke. All right, thanks for calling in. Call back anytime.
All right, love you, buddy. Thank
Good night. All right, lines are opening back up. We probably have time for another 2 callers, depending on what we get into. We'll hang here for just a second. Lines are open. Here we go. Hi, thanks for calling. Hello?
Hey, hi.
Hi, thanks for calling. What do you want to talk about?
It's just been a really rough year, and I guess I don't really have many people in my life that I feel comfortable talking to about. It's been hard, like, getting up every day and going to work and trying to be a normal person.
Would you say you're struggling with motivation?
Yeah. I had an abusive ex that things ended like a year ago, and basically moved to a new town where I don't really know anybody, and I haven't really been going out or been socializing.
Sounds like you got hammered down into a really uncomfortable place in life.
Yeah. Things with my family haven't been great. It kind of went like a decade or so without talking to them, to my parents specifically, and started talking to them after the breakup, just because I needed some kind of support system in my life, and I don't know if letting them back into my life was a good idea or not.
I see. So you had some boundaries with, it sounded like family, that the boundaries have deteriorated, and now you're kind of back to square one with these people. Is that right?
Yeah.
So what were the boundaries? What was the need for them? And why did they deteriorate? Those would be my 3 questions.
I guess it's more, I felt like they put up more boundaries than I did, although I don't know, I guess I put up some boundaries too. They kind of stopped me from talking or having, I feel like, a close relationship with my younger brother when they found out that I was an atheist. They just kind of like, we had to communicate over Snapchat so that they didn't know about it. And, talk over Xbox. That's basically the only way I was able to talk to him throughout college and through my 20s, basically.
I see. So, sounds like your family's religious. Sounds like they tried to interfere with your relationship with your brother when you came out as an atheist, and then you responded with certain boundaries, and then it sounds like you tried to reopen up to them, and now you are in an even more frustrated place. That's what I'm hearing. Is that right?
Yeah, basically.
I see. How is your relationship with your brother?
I don't know. I hope good. It's good on my side at least. I moved. He started college, and I moved to the town that he's going to college in, just so I can kind of be there for him as he's going through college, and also because I don't want to be totally alone. Basically, I lost a lot of the friends that I made just because of everything that happened with my ex. She kind of said things to them that weren't true and made them think that I was the abusive one, even though I might have said some things that weren't kind, but there's a lot of physical abuse that was progressively worse through lockdown. It just got really bad, and I tried to break up with her. She whipped me in the eye with a phone cable, and I went blind and I was hospitalized for a few months. It was a really traumatic thing that I feel like I haven't quite gotten over.
I see. So it's not just that you're having some religious turmoil with your family. It's also that your ex was abusive to you physically and actually sent you to the ER. You mentioned you were blind for a period of time. That's pretty intense.
Yeah, I guess I've always felt like I had issues like dissociating and feeling like it was like watching my life happen on a screen, and it was blind in one eye, so it was like this weird thing where it really, really felt like I was just like watching everything happen and nothing felt real. I guess I still feel kind of stuck in that state, even though I can see out of both of my eyes now.
Right. I see. My goodness. There's so much going on here.
Yeah, sorry, I'm kind of just dumping everything.
No, don't be sorry. I'm just
been
trying.
watching the live streams and
Yeah, I'm glad you called in.
been helping a lot.
Good, I'm glad. You mentioned a lack of motivation at the top of the call. I believe you answered yes when I asked you if that's what you were feeling, but I'm now thinking that probably wasn't right. I think that maybe it's possible you are struggling with some sense of motivation, but that it's not that you're not motivated, actually. I think it's that it sounds like you're feeling powerless. It sounds like you're feeling like it doesn't matter what you do, you're just going to keep getting treated unfairly or something like that.
Yeah, that is kind of how I'm feeling. I've been to see a therapist. Right now I've kind of been bouncing around between jobs since I moved, and I'm still uninsured, so I haven't gone back to therapy yet. But I know it would help. I've been reading a lot of books and watching YouTube videos about mental health stuff and abusive relationships. So that's been kind of my strategy for just making it through until I do have health insurance. But
Right.
I know a therapist would probably be best.
Are you familiar with the book Leaving the Fold by Marlene Winnell?
No.
I'm going to put this book in the chat for you. This book was really helpful for me. If you're having some philosophical differences with your family, like you're having, I think this might be really helpful for you. Leaving the Fold, putting this in the chat for you. Just go through and look for my comment, and you'll find that book. Marlene Winnell are you familiar with her or her work at all?
No.
She's amazing. She's a psychologist. She discovered RPTSD which I now believe is called religious trauma syndrome, if I'm not mistaken. But it's a subsect of PTSD specific to religious trauma. And this book, Leaving the Fold, was written by Marlene and is amazing. So I feel like it's relevant in your case. It's a short book. I feel like you could probably plow through it if you're a good reader. Definitely a great place to start. If you're struggling with some identifying healthy boundaries with people who are still stuck in the same mindset that you grew up with, that you saw to be so dysfunctional. So I put that in the chat for you. But I also hear that you are, I sense that your brother is somebody that you want to be close with. I sense that that's kind of the rub, is that it's your brother. Like, it's a much different dynamic than with your parents. Like, your brother will be there after your parents leave this planet. And it sounds like what you want is to have a relationship with your brother that isn't stained by the expectations of your parents. Is that right?
Yeah.
And I'm wondering how the abusive ex fits into this. Do you think that, was that just an aside? That, of course, it's tragic. I see why you shared it, but I'm wondering if you think there's some connection between, like, we didn't talk too much about why you got lashed in the face with a phone cable. I'm not sure if it was also religious or if it was something else. I'm trying to find a common denominator.
Religious at all.
Okay.
I do feel like both my parents were abusive in different ways. I guess my dad was kind of physically abusive. My mom, I feel like, kind of pitted me and my siblings against each other, and I feel like my whole family dynamic has just been messed up my whole life. Like, she'd say certain things about, like, other family members, and I'm pretty close with my aunt as well, so I'd say my brother and my aunt are the family members I was closest with growing up. So,
I see.
they're both religious, and I feel like that's put a big strain on our relationship. Me, like, basically just rejecting their religion, and I feel like sometimes they just feel uncomfortable around me now.
Right.
I don't know how to process that, how to like acknowledge, or be true to myself without, like, I don't know, making them feel like I'm judging them or anything. Like, whenever religion comes up, which, like, they both bring religion a lot.
Are you judging them?
I try not to. I guess I get upset with them when they say certain things that I feel like are kind of offensive, like certain, I feel like misogynistic or homophobic, or they've actually both on separate occasions told me that they think feeling suicidal or committing suicide is selfish, and I've struggled with that, like, since I was little. So I feel like I have lashed out before when they say things like that, because I'm like, why would you say something like that? Like, it's not helpful. It's not kind. Like, you pretend like you're all these things as part of your religion, but, like, you're not. You're kind of mean sometimes. Like, they're my favorite. I shouldn't say favorite, but, like, they've been there for me a lot more than any of my other family members, and they still say things sometimes that I'm, like, really frustrated by. And I love them still, but, like, I want to point out that, like, hey, what you said really hurt me, and I feel like anytime I say something like that, they back off and don't talk to me as much.
Right. So, I know you mentioned that your ex-girlfriend wasn't religious, but you mentioned that she abused you and was regularly abusive. And I'm wondering if that fits into this at all for you thematically, or if that was like a step in your story that wasn't necessarily connected to your parents. Like, in other words, was your girlfriend somebody that you were attracted to because they were familiar, but they were abusive in a way that you were used to? Or, in other words, were your parents abusive, and is that what attracted you to this abusive relationship? I'm only mentioning this because I'm trying to figure out how the abusive ex fits into this picture that you're painting, and I'm not sure if they're connected or you know, tangential or something.
I guess I didn't feel like there was any abuse at the beginning of the relationship. Like it seemed like a healthy relationship at the beginning. The physical abuse at least only happened towards the very, very end.
Okay.
I guess it was more covert abuse, but I don't know. I guess I didn't notice any of those red flags, possibly because my parents were similar to her in a lot of ways.
Mhm. So you do think that this ex could have been someone you were attracted to through some conditioning from your parents?
Yeah, I guess so.
That's interesting.
I don't know. There's a lot of things that I feel like are different between them, but again, now with hindsight, I guess I'm seeing more similarities. Like I said, she wasn't religious at all, so it came across differently, but
How old are you?
yeah, there were some similarities. 28.
28. Yeah. I do feel like that nonviolent Leaving the Fold book is going to be a really good book for you to read. I read it when I was around your age. I might have been a couple years younger, but it's a great time of life to read that book if you're going through those kinds of things. It might help you have better context for what that relationship with your parents actually is. And, that stuff's really hard. If your parents are... Yeah, it doesn't sound like your parent. From what I'm hearing, you don't sound like the judgmental one. Ironically, it sounds like your parents are the ones putting all these hard boundaries on you with your brother, and what you want. It sounds like the number one thing you want, at least relating to this call, is to find peace with your brother. I mean, he's probably he's the biggest common denominator we've talked about so far, aside from your ex and your parents. But I would say your brother is like when I asked you earlier, is it that you want a better relationship with your brother? You said yes. So I'm thinking, if that's it, then, your parents might be at a place in life where they can't change. They probably won't change, would be my guess. They're probably too old to change. They're probably set in their ways. But, I'm trying to encourage you in saying that from what I'm hearing, it doesn't sound like you've been judgmental. It sounds like you have some convictions that you've shared with them and you've tried to share with them. And that's what a relationship is. If they can't relate with you and your convictions, that's on them, not you. That doesn't mean you're judgmental. You're trying to have a relationship. You're trying to share with them. You're trying to tell them who you are and what you think. And it doesn't sound like you've been judgmental at all. It sounds like your parents are being having a lot of assumptions about what your intent is in your relationship with your brother, and it sounds like they're the ones muddling up that relationship, not you. It sounds like you really want all this to be easier and for people to just get along. It sounds like you're putting yourself there in relationship with your parents, even though there's some differences, and it sounds like they're the ones being really closed off. So I'm really sorry to hear that, and I hope Leaving the Fold does for you what it did for me. I'm wondering what you're thinking as I'm talking here. I'm just rehashing everything we've talked about, and as I have heard it, I'm wondering what you're thinking as I'm saying this.
Yeah, I'll definitely check out the book. I guess I still feel like my head's spinning it's good to get it all out there, but I guess talking about it all makes me realize like how much there is that I'm dealing with.
It's confusing stuff. Religion is so difficult. I'm not anti-religion, but I am. I can empathize with a lot of what you're saying. It can be really tough. People feel judged subconsciously. I have no doubt your parents feel judged. I have no doubt that they are being honest when they tell you they feel that way. But I am trying to be really clear that from what you've shared, I don't hear any intent of judgment on your part. It sounds like you've created all the space for them that they want. It sounds like you've tried to have a relationship with them on their terms, and it still doesn't get any better, even on their own terms. And I've been there, and that's why I'm empathizing with you. Religion can be really difficult in certain cases, and I don't have a silver bullet for you. I'm happy to let you talk here as long as you need to, and happy to spitball with you and recommend books that have been helpful for me and highlight some things from the chat. In fact, I'm going to check the chat here as we're talking, make sure I haven't missed anything. But I just you're not super young, but you're young. You're still in your 20s, and these are normal times to be having these kinds of this kind of turmoil in your head, especially after growing up in what you grew up in. So I would say props to you for maintaining empathy for your parents, because I hear a lot of empathy in your voice for your parents, and I hear the sadness in your voice that you really wish. I believe you that you really wish there were a healthier relationship there. I don't hear in your voice that you are resentful or I just hear that you're sad, and I think that is a really healthy sign, because it means that you're trying to do the best with the pieces you've been given, and that's all we can do. We don't always get the justice in life that we deserve. Life isn't always fair, of course. People don't always come around and see things the same way we do. That's also part of the beauty of life. Life is diverse and beautiful, and people get by in different ways, and that's beautiful. In fact, we need that diversity. But there's obviously no promising that your relationship with your parents can improve. I know what it's like to have sibling relationships that are muddled up by religiously dogmatic parents. I could say that. And that is a really difficult road to be on. And I'm really sorry that things aren't simpler for you. And I just, my heart breaks for you, because I do understand where you are to an extent personally. And it's a hard road. And it can get better. A lot of it can get better through shifts in your own expectations. Again, that's why I spent some time talking about how your parents may not be able to change. They may not ever change. But again, it's also why I said there will be a time when it'll just be you and your brother here on this planet, and your parents won't be here anymore. And just be fair, clear, I'm not saying you should relish the day that your parents are not here, because I know that's not what you want. Yeah. I hear that's not what you want. Nobody would want that, of course. But my point is that there will, even if the worst happens. Well, I guess what I'm saying is, what's the worst that can happen? Let's imagine that worst case scenario. I don't know if that freaks you out, but it helps me sometimes to imagine worst case scenarios, and then just picture, like, what would I do in that worst case scenario? And from what it sounds like, you and your brother, sounds like your brother wants a relationship with you the same way you do. It sounds like he's younger than you. It sounds like he's maybe still in the sphere of influence of your parents, under their thumb a little bit. And he will grow out of that, whether it's after they're gone from this planet or 5 or 10 years from now, once he figures out his own life. I don't know how old he is, but the time can heal these things. And so I guess I'm just trying to give you hope that things can change, and that people sometimes never change, of course, but that circumstances can change. And I do believe that there's hope even for siblings in these situations, even if there's no hope for parents, or the relationship between the parents and the kids. And I'm not saying there is no hope. Maybe there is. I would like to think there is. I'm trying to, maybe I'm being verbose, but I'm trying to be very careful with how I'm putting this, because you're in a very specific situation, and I don't want to be insensitive or derail your life. So I'm not sure if any of this has been helpful, but sorry, come again.
It has been helpful.
Okay, good. So I'm glad I haven't freaked you out.
No.
I would not want to do that. Or to deter you from trying to heal with your parents. Maybe there is some healing that can be done there. Every case is different. Some people grow up in religious homes where nothing changes, and the relationship only just gets worse and worse and worse until someone dies. And some people can read books like Leaving the Fold, or Nonviolent Communication, or Should I Stay or Should I Go? Any of these books that are like, pivotal relationship books about meaning like how to pivot in a relationship. And some people can use these books as food for thought to heal in their relationships. And every case is different. And so, that's why we try not to get prescriptive with life advice here or career advice. But I want to encourage you that that things can improve here, and that it might take some work on your part. It might take you rolling up your sleeves, even though it might feel pointless and futile. You can do some work. There are things that you can do, and it can be as simple as beginning to read a book. And this book really helped me. I do hope if you're still struggling with this, you call back, and we can rehash it on a deeper level. This may be something you're going through for a long time. Stuff with religion doesn't always improve quickly, because you're talking about axioms. Religion is the kind of thing, it's a deeper axiom than politics. I would say religion influences people's politics. So, so religious people, depending on how religious they are, you're talking about, something very deeply rooted for a lot of people, that it is, in your case, it sounds like it's developed into some abusive relationship styles, and some misunderstanding, and all we can do is strive for empathy and peace and understanding. And a lot of times in relationships, that comes with a healthy dose of boundaries. Maybe with your parents, certain topics are off limits. That doesn't work for everybody. Some parents and even some kids can't respect certain boundaries, topical boundaries. But maybe with your parents, just some kind of conversation about hey, we're just going to agree to disagree on X, Y, and Z. Maybe that kind of conversation would be helpful. Maybe not. But these are all, you're at the time of life where these will be the questions. These are healthy questions to ask, and I'm glad to hear you're asking them. And there are very simple steps that you can begin to take now to determine what kinds of boundaries you need. But I do think it sounds like you are going to benefit from some sort of boundary or boundaries here in this case. It seems like the only thing you can do.
Yeah. I guess I feel like I've always struggled with setting those boundaries. Or it's not setting them, it's just enforcing those boundaries. Those boundaries always get plowed through. And I don't know. I've never had anyone that I've ever really cared about respect those boundaries. I feel like I've had even just friends that would not respect those boundaries growing up, and I don't know, I can't imagine a relationship where the other person respects those boundaries. I feel like that would just seem so bizarre to me to get into a relationship where where someone actually did respect those boundaries and respect me and respect my friends and just treat me with the same amount of, like, not respect as in, like, do whatever I say, but just treat me like a human being.
Right.
I don't feel like I ask for that much.
Well, that makes me wonder what your boundaries look like. Are there terms and conditions when you lay down the boundaries? Do you try, when you lay down a boundary with anyone, whether it's your parents or your friends or even a partner, do you give your boundaries with terms and conditions? If you just state a boundary, boundaries don't sink in with people unless we give them terms and conditions. For example, A, B, and C are boundaries for me. And if these boundaries are violated, X, Y, or Z will happen. And then just commit to doing X, Y, Z when A, B, and C are violated. When you lay down boundaries with your parents or a girlfriend or even extended family or your brother, have you tried do you lay them down in that way where there's terms and conditions to them so that the people know what's going to happen if they violate them?
I guess no, but that seems like threatening them or holding something over. Like I guess I can think of a specific example. Just today, I was talking to my parents, and I have a friend who's non-binary, and I use they/them pronouns for them, and they made a big deal and kind of mocked me for using those pronouns, and I didn't think that's a boundary that I have to set. Like, hey, don't make fun of me for correctly gendering my friend.
Right.
But what do I do in response to that? I could be a jerk back and be like, I guess not a jerk, but just what's wrong with you? Why do you have to do this like this? Is what I want to say.
Right.
Or I can just hang up the phone, or I don't know. It just feels like I either let myself be a doormat, or I push them away, or I call them out for being what I feel like is bigots. That's what it comes down to.
Well, we could start by saying that there's no use fighting fire with fire. And I want to empathize with you that it's not fair your parents laugh at you for that, even if you were flat out wrong, even if you were scientifically wrong about that. That's not a fair response, your parents laughing at you. But if they laugh at you, to your point, calling them bigot, it sounds like already that's not going to do anything. It sounds like you, again, I'm reiterating to you, I can tell that you're not the judgmental person in this relationship. Everything you've told me so far has added up to as much. You're not the one mudslinging. You're the one eating it half the time. You're the one taking what they're dishing and eating it. And I'm trying to brainstorm with you on some ways to institute better boundaries with these people so that you don't get hurt, but that also may allow some kind of relationship to be possible, because I don't sense you want to be no contact with your family, which I think is beautiful, and you should try everything you can before you play that card, or implement that boundary. That's nobody wants to do that. It's a horrible feeling. But your parents, it doesn't have to be threatening. I understand why boundaries do feel, they can feel intimidating to people who aren't used to exercising them in a healthy way. So I want to be very clear that I'm not saying you should threaten them. That's not what I mean by if ABC happens, then XYZ will happen. What I'm saying is listen, for example, I'll use your example of your parents laughing at you for using they/them pronouns for your friend, which is a sign of respect, I will add, for your friend. You're just trying to be a respectful human being, and then you got laughed at. That's just totally bonkers. There's no world or worldview in which that makes any sense or is respectable to anyone. But if you were to say to your parents something like, look, I know we're not going to agree on things like pronouns. That's proven to be true, but I don't want to fight with you guys when that happens. I don't want to have a debate with you guys when that happens. So if I say something like that you disagree with, if it gets disrespectful or if you laugh at me, you can make this as prescriptive as you want. If you laugh at me or if it turns into a fight, I will leave your house or wherever I am to protect the relationship, because I will let it blow over and then I won't acknowledge it until ever, if it needs to be. It kind of puts the ball in their court a little bit. You can say something, there's a million I'm just giving you one example. That's one example of how you can handle that in a way that's constructive to the relationship. You're not threatening that I'll never talk to you again or we're through or something like that. It's just like, look, if we're gonna argue about something like this that doesn't even involve our relationship, I'm just gonna leave your house because I care about you and I don't want to spend our time fighting about stuff we're never gonna agree on. I'd rather talk about things we do agree on. And I'm wondering if you've tried laying a boundary down in that kind of a way.
Yeah, I feel like I obviously haven't had in my life for that long, but I feel like I have tried setting boundaries like that, and it usually doesn't change anything. I don't feel like they we kind of just shove everything under a rug, pretend like it didn't happen. Like I'll take myself out of the situation, kind of give myself some space from them for a while, and then when I go back to them, they kind of continue acting the same way, and they've budged a little bit. Like they don't outwardly say things to like my brother's gay friends. They don't like to his face say anything, but I still feel like they say stuff like I don't know, just make them feel uncomfortable. So I'm like, I don't know. I just don't know.
They may always. And, the example I gave of a boundary was, again, just one example. Sounds like maybe you're well past that. Maybe you do need more explicit boundaries. Maybe, again, I just want to repeat, these are complicated issues you're talking about with religion and family and ideological differences, differences in understanding of science. These are very dense issues that we can't get to the bottom of on a short phone call, of course. But I'm trying to determine, because you mentioned boundaries have been a problem for you, implementing them in healthy ways, healthy, productive ways. And so I'm trying to determine where you are in that process. It sounds like you're well past a gentle boundary. It sounds like, you're in this process of increasingly, you're increasing the boundaries or the severity of the boundaries. It sounds like you're having to get very explicit with where the boundaries are and what will happen. So maybe it is at a place, it's possible it is at a place where simply telling them you won't participate in conversations where you're being mocked or ridiculed is going to work. Maybe you do need some kind of, these boundaries, for a lot of people, these boundaries get increasingly meaningful, we could say, or with increasing severity, increasingly limiting until the point where, some people realize that a no contact policy is the best thing for the relationship, which I don't know what your feelings on that are, and I'm not asking you or telling you or recommending that you pursue that. But I am saying that I guess what I'm feeling is that there's no relating happening in your relationship. Your parents aren't willing to relate with you in this relationship. It sounds like you're doing all the relating, and that your parents expect you to conform and are going to mock and ridicule you if you don't. And so maybe a more serious boundary is in order. And I do think a book like Leaving the Fold can be helpful. I don't know anything about your parents other than that they're religious. I don't know if they may be dealing with some kind of brain issue or neurological issue, or maybe, we have a lot of people calling in here for whatever reason. A lot of these callers are dealing with psychopaths. That you have not mentioned that, so I don't want to speculate. But again, these are the things that go through my head because of the volume of people we're talking to. These are things that are very serious, and I don't want to tell you to do anything specific, but it does sound like you are well past, at the very least, it sounds like you're well past very simple boundaries with your family. But I would also add, you mentioned something a while ago. That you said you've had a hard time seeing anyone in your life respect your boundaries, and I wonder what that's about. Like that's, Mike, for the sake of brevity, I would say it's possible that it's at least possible that if that's true, then there's some modification you could make to your boundary implementing process that would help. If no one in your life respects your boundaries, that seems interesting to me, and I'm wondering why that could be. I mean, you said that you...
I think I was just like really antisocial growing up. Like I had really bad anxiety. I feel like I would not even be able to have a conversation in this phone call if I had been doing this in high school. You know, like I was just super anxious. So the only people I really let into my life are the people who like forced their way in. So I think I just gravitated towards people who just didn't leave me any room in the relationship. Like I didn't really go out of my way to like introduce myself to new people. I was just very, very shy growing up. I guess I still am to an extent. Or I'm trying not to be, but
if you're shy and antisocial, is it possible that your feeling of the way you're laying down boundaries is not the same thing as the way those boundaries are perceived by the other parties? I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm just saying, is it possible if you're antisocial, because I don't know you, I'm just saying, like, is it possible if you're antisocial and shy that the way you go about laying down a boundary is too soft or not explicit enough? That may be an exercise for you that would be healthy to learn. And I don't know. I'm just asking.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I know I've, set some boundaries where it's like, at least with my ex, like absolutely no physical abuse was ever okay. And like, I remember the first time it happened, setting that boundary, being like, I don't know, this can never, ever, ever happen again, or that's it. And it did happen again, and there was always some excuse or just a lot of gaslighting, I guess.
Right.
And I feel like I have had some like memory problems, like memory gaps, and anytime we'd get into a fight, like I couldn't even remember the order of events, and like just a lot of mind fog. So that made it even harder to reinforce those boundaries, I guess.
I feel like this book I've recommended, Leaving the Fold, is going to be a monumental book for you. And I don't think it's a silver bullet, but I think it's probably the first book you should read. I honestly, I try to be very careful here on these calls because I don't want to say anything out of line or that may send you on a bad path. The thing I feel best about right now is recommending that you check out that short book and maybe read more by Marlene Winnell. She has so many good books on this topic. She's also got some lectures on YouTube that are so helpful for people in your situation, so you might check those out. I would, if I would leave you with two things, it would be check out the work of Marlene Winnell. Start with Leaving the Fold, and then secondly, I would say next time you're in a situation where where you feel the need to lay down a boundary, take a second. Even if it feels uncomfortable, even if it feels like you're silent for a minute or two, those moments often feel much longer than they actually are. Take whatever time you need to in those situations, even if you have to say to the person, give me 30 seconds to respond to that. I need just a second. And then just sit there. Close your eyes if you have to. Just sit there and think, what do I need right now to feel better about this? And then use that as a condition or a term for the boundary, and then just very calmly say to that person, I feel uncomfortable, I feel judged, whatever the word is, and you don't have to accuse them of doing something. You can just say, I'm not accusing you of anything, but I feel X, Y, or Z right now. I'm feeling this way, and I think it would be better if there were a boundary here. And so if in the future A, B, or C happens, then I will need X, Y, or Z to happen, and I will exercise that. Or, I'm not going to shove words down your throat, but I do think that, paying attention the next time you need to lay down a boundary very carefully to what you're tempted to say and what it is you actually feel you need to say, even if it takes you some time, take 30 seconds, take a minute of silence and just think about what it is you're actually after and lay down a good boundary, a bulletproof boundary. And don't feel bad about it. It's not selfish to lay down a boundary. A boundary can be the one thing that keeps a relationship alive.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Well, again, I know we're not going to get to the bottom of this tonight, but I feel like I feel really good about you leaving the fold. I'd love to hear an update from you after reading that. I'd love to have another conversation with you after reading that. So I would love for you to call back in anytime and have a part 2 of this, or get some positive update from you in the Discord. That would be a home run. But I'm wishing you the best, and I do believe you will find your way in this.
Thanks. I really appreciate that. This whole conversation means a lot to me.
It was great to talk with you. Thanks for sharing. You sound like you got a great head on your shoulders, and I'm wishing you the best. Take care.
Thanks so much, man.
Good night. Guys, give me 90 seconds to tend to something, and then we'll come back here for a quick goodbye. And then Offcore and I think Slinks is still in here modding, Deanna Cooper. There are a couple mods in here. Seems like there's a couple things we might be worth discussing. I don't know if you guys can hang on till after this, but give me 90 seconds. We'll come back here for a quick farewell. I need to run upstairs real quick and tend to something. And then if the mods are around, if Offcore's not too tired, we'll briefly chat about I saw some things happening. Coming right back. Don't go anywhere. All right, sorry about that. I'm not sure if that was the worst time or the best time for that to happen. But great night. What a beautiful... Gosh, these streams just feel so good. I'm so glad that people are here for these, supporting these callers, throwing out ideas. This chat is such an invaluable resource for these callers. I can't tell you how many people I get follow-up messages from saying how positive this chat is for them, and just this forum to be able to share vulnerably and openly without, it reminds me of that last caller. Like they were not in a situation where they could be vulnerable with anybody without boundaries. And, this anonymity thing here, it serves as some kind of boundary. Like, we don't want to know what these people look like or what they believe or what they think about the world, what they subscribe to. We just want to hear what they're going through, what their experience is. And so I'm just so grateful for all of you. You're amazing. If you're not in our Discord yet, check it out. It's not all... this is actually a very serious stream, I would say, tonight. They're not all this sober. Some of them have some really entertaining moments. Each one is its own thing. So if you're new here, each one's different. I guess that's what I'm saying. But check out our Discord. It's a lively place. Not all the people there are talking about really serious stuff. Some people just go in there and hang out. There's watch parties. There's open mic nights, and people share things they're creating, songs, poems, everything. Anything you could imagine. But I do love doing these streams, and it just feels so rich. So thank you to the callers. Thank you to our mods. Thank you to everybody in the chat. We do these 3 times a week on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 9 p.m. Central till roughly midnight. And it's been a wonderful night. And with that, I will see you guys on Sunday, 9 p.m. Central. Take care.